We'll hear from Brett Veach here in just a second. But the one main takeaway, and we'll get into what Sterling had to say when Bryson Tiller put his name in the portal versus maybe what Sterling has to say today. We'll see what a difference 10 days can make. But as it stands right now, there are no excuses for Dennis Gates. To me, it is one of, if not the best, Missouri basketball teams on paper in terms of a roster.
Yes.
And I think second weekend should be the minimum. Honestly, like that's if he's made the tournament 3 out of 4 years and he's come close to winning games, he did make a round of 32 his first year. There's no reason to look at this roster and say, yeah, if they don't make the round of 32, it's all good. No, it's on him. If you include Honor Boateng, and we'll see if he comes back from the knee injury and what he looks like. So even if we take Boateng out, but if we include Honor Boateng, the Missouri Tigers' top 9 players would be high school ranks of these numbers. 5, 27, 42, 43, 73, 26, 102, 115. So it'd be 5, 26, 27, 42, 43, 73, 102, 115, and then Jalen Carey was not ranked as a smaller guy, but is one of the best rebounders in America. Kansas also landed one of the best rebounders in America in Keanu Dawes. They may look at him and say he fits more of what Bill Self wants. He's a dog. All right, there is no question about his motor. Keanu Dawes, more like Keanu Dogs. Am I right? But on paper, Jalen Carey not ranked. If Honor Boateng is playing, it's 5, 26, 27, 42, 43, 73, 102, 115 not ranked.
Dude.
They're top 9. It's one of the best, if not the best, rosters on paper in Missouri history, and now the pressure moves squarely on Dennis Gates' shoulders.
I'm all the way in.
Okay.
We have a group text with just Pledge Brothers and alumni and all this stuff, and we're all in. There's like 2 guys who are like, guys, what are you doing? This is Missouri. You know we're going to get let down. This is what we do. We always get let down, and I can't right now. I'm just so excited.
I told you after Missouri lost to Miami, Dennis Gates now enters the season that he's best at.
But he's done a great job.
Season.
There's no denying that he can recruit. There's no denying that he can get talent here. And by the way, shout out to Missouri for opening the pocketbooks because I'm sure Kansas wanted to keep Bryson, and with offers and apparently looking at Michigan, Arizona,
it came down to Miami and Missouri.
You choose Missouri.
Take that, CY. And they got Jameer Jones, who was one of the more coveted, top 40 transfers as well. One of the high-flying guys, was the leading freshman in dunks last year as a wing. Averaged 5 points per game in transition last year. They've got some players, man. Brett Veach and the Chiefs need some players as well. They draft a week from tonight, number 9 and number 29. Brett Veach meeting with the media in the Zoom. Let's listen into Brett Veach getting ready for the draft next week.
We've got you, Veach, so whenever you're ready.
Oh, so I'm not going to see everyone?
When they turn their cameras on, they'll pop up for you.
Just helps me orient. So you want me to start?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
All right, so I don't see anybody, so
Talk it, Kills.
I feel like I'm just talking to you about the draft, Kelsey.
That's perfect. It's just you and me.
Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate everyone for hopping on the on this Zoom today. Certainly excited about the draft next week. As always, I want to start off by thanking personnel staff and all of our scouts that just do a tremendous job over the course of the season. Our coaching staff, of course, we're a big Zoom team to begin with, but I feel like this year we have about 15 Zooms a day. So I do appreciate the coaches hanging in there with us and giving us all that information we need. And last but not least, our training staff. At the end of the day, you need Rick Burkholder's blessing on these guys. So for all the work we do, it really can't happen until we get all the information, and a big piece of that information, as you guys know, is Rick and his staff. So thank him and his staff for all the great work they do. Again, excited for next week, and with that, we'll open it up for questions.
We'll go first to Jesse Newell. Jesse?
Hey, Brett. Kelsey, I have a quick follow-up. First off, can you just give an overview of number 9 pick and the options you see available to you there?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a unique draft, and we're at the combine. I had mentioned that when you have a couple of those positions at the quote unquote non-premium positions up there being really high, um, it kind of leads it to different paths in regards to what you want to take. I think the position we're in. I think we have some talent on our team, and our expectation every year is to go out there and try to win our division and make the playoffs and have a chance to compete for a championship. But with that being said, there's a lot of areas to improve on our roster on both sides of the football. So I think it does open up that 9 pick to go in any one direction, and certainly we'll see how the first 5 or 6 picks go. But I think whether it's the defensive backfield, the offensive line.
Scribe is how you stop explaining the same thing over and over at work. Watch this. It'll change your life. Raise your
I do think that we'll be in a position there to get one of those players and then add throughout the course of the draft. So I just think where we are with our roster, you really can't eliminate any one need because I think there are a lot of them.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask about offensive tackle. Can you just give an overview of that position and potentially where you guys might look to address that in the draft?
Yeah, I think there is certainly talent there. I do think, though, that, I just trying to project this draft, it looks like you have those 5, 6, 7, 8 names that everyone is kind of sharing across the board, and there's a consensus. And so I think in some of those, there are a couple linemen creep in. But I do think that if they don't creep into that first 8, 9, 10 slots, I think you're going to get a massive run of offensive linemen from 10 to 20, 25. So I think there are numbers there, but I think that once you get to pick, say, 35, those numbers quickly diminish. And then there's a big fall off where in some rounds you had depth throughout the course of the draft. For example, I think the end, I think it's solid through 2.5, maybe even 3, where offensive line, there's some talent there, but I do think it dries up quickly, and by 35, it could be slim pickings.
We'll go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Brett.
Hey, Sam.
You mentioned the non-premium positions. I just wonder if you could speak more just to the oddity of a lot of the top talent seems to be those non-premium positions, and just how you'll balance the premium position in this draft given that situation.
Yeah, I think our goal is to just make that selection and add a player here that is going to be an impact player on our team. And I know it's cliche-ish, but I mean, to really just add the best player available, right? You hear that all the time. But I think I don't want to overthink that, and I don't want to take, a lesser player. Just someone that's going to come in here, be an impact player, help us from day one. I think that's extremely important to us. I think it's Sam, unique because with this draft, when you do have some of those, whether it be running back or quarterback, safety, when those numbers are higher up there and then the other numbers get shifted down, I think what you get then is more discrepancy with the premium positions. So I don't know if I'm saying this eloquently enough, but I think that the fans will be in for a treat next Thursday because I think that, the grades are going to be so close from some of these tackles and DNs and other receivers that a lot of these guys that are mocked high may go a little lower, and a lot of these guys that are getting mocked a little lower may go a little higher because I think they're so close this year. It's not this huge gap and big fall off. And even with the offensive linemen, I mean, there's traits that you like and some things that all these guys need to clean up and work on. But I think that the grades are so close that it'll come down to the scheme fit and the coach's analysis, the vision, the fit for these guys. So I think it should be an entertaining night and look to probably be a lot of trades. And I think that's what a draft like this, when you don't have 2 or 3 franchise quarterbacks and a Will Anderson or a Myles Garrett, I think it does lend itself to open up to a lot of fun and a lot of excitement. So I think from a fan's perspective, they should have a lot of fun next Thursday.
And then the second thing I had was just, where do you see maybe the pockets of this draft? I mean, you mentioned position specific, but just overall, do you see specific pockets in this draft where it might be pretty good?
I had mentioned the offensive line. I think that there are quite a number of tackles, but I think it does fall off, right after that first round. Maybe it extends to pick 35 or 40. I think, receivers, it's maybe not as top heavy as it was in the past. There might be a little break, but I do think that there's some mid-round depth there at the receiver position. As everyone knows, it's kind of thinner this year at the running back position. I think corner is just kind of sprinkled. I mean, there's some moderate depth there, in one, partly into two, and then like the receivers, you always get a run of corners in 3 and 4. I think that there's a mid to lower level pack of linebackers that are really deep. So I think, again, it's team dependent too. So I mean, obviously our board doesn't look like other teams' boards. So I think, just generally speaking, Sam, I think there's mid pocket depth at the receiver position, potentially at the corner position. I think that there's really good DN depth right throughout the board. I do think the running back position is a little light this year. And as I mentioned, the offensive tackle position is good in 1 to early 2, and then it kind of thins out there a little bit. So again, that's just how we see it. Other teams may see it differently. And I think having the picks and the amount that we do, it'll give us a chance to navigate the board a little bit.
Thanks, Brett.
We'll go next to Stacey Dales. Stacey?
Thank you. Hey, Brett, what is it like being in rebuild mode around a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Patrick Mahomes?
Well, it's I like to think that each year presents a new challenge, and when you have Pat, there's that mindset that you always have a chance to go out there and compete for a championship and compete for a division title. I think the tricky part is trying to maintain that standard, but also keep an eye on the future and knowing that, Pat's still going to be here for a long time. And, we always have to build this thing out and build through the offense and defensive lines. And that's where it starts. So, as every team has that blueprint that once you get the quarterback, you got to protect them. And then on the defensive side, to get after the other team's quarterback. So, but there are some of those maybe more immediate short-term needs that you want to fill. So it's just a counterbalance of trying to go out there and give Pat what he needs now, but also keep an eye on the future to make sure we can maintain this run.
And if I may, with a follow-up, what is the art of a draft trade? Because you do them very well.
I don't know if I have a blueprint for that. I think it's just exhausting all the information with each player, identifying your team needs, working with the coaching staff. And I mean, there's going to be, and I'm sure I'll get asked this, every team has a different amount of players on their board right now. I think we're at 215. But even with those 215, I mean, you're going to have, 10 to 15 guys that you really want to get. And I think it's just trying to work the board, and as the days go by, trying to find out how many of those 10 to 15 guys that you have in the really want list can you position yourself to get. And again, I think that's just goes back to just exhausting all the information on all these guys and having a plan and being fluid with your process.
We'll hear from Nick Jacobs next. Nick?
And I'll follow up if I can, Kelsey, please. Brett, when it comes to pass rushers, wide receivers, and running backs, what's the toughest thing to translate or predict from college to what they will be in the league?
Well, I think anytime that with any player, I look back at the guys we drafted. It's just their ability to come in here and acclimate to our scheme and what our coaches want, and that's why our guys do such a tremendous job on the road and spend all that time with these guys. And it's really just their ability to come in here, and they're gonna have a lot on their plate early on, and that's what our coaches do. And on one end, there's an element of growth with all these young guys, but and it's not high school or college where we like to redshirt guys. We want to have guys come out there and play and be successful right away. But I just think that the key for any of these guys to be successful here is their ability to be able to maintain and retain information. It's always different and unique. I mean, there are some guys that have come into our system and we expected them to take a year or two and they've played right away. And there's guys that we expected a lot early on and it's taken them time. So I don't know if there's a a great answer or recipe for, identifying one particular thing, but I would just say overall having that that comfort with their mental aptitude and their ability to handle the playbook. And Coach Reed obviously is no different than Spags, but Spags is certainly, it's fun to work with him on this. But if you guys had a chance to listen to our Zooms, especially the linebacker Zooms, half the time I don't even know what they're talking about. So there's a lot put on these guys early on, and I think that that's why we do such a good job with bringing these guys in and getting as much information as we can, just to make sure they can handle that mental workload.
And from your first draft as GM in 2018 to now, what have been the biggest lessons you've learned during that time from the draft process to the draft week when you're in charge?
Yeah, I think that patience is obviously required. I think you spend so much time on these guys and you have such strong convictions over players. It's one of those things that when you do the amount of work and you live in a film room, I think you get into this mindset where you think everybody sees the board just like you because you're in there. And again, I'm not saying that our boards are always right, but you think that everyone thinks like you. And so even now, like when I'm doing our mocks and I'm trying to project the first 5, 6, 7, 8 picks, I'm thinking, well, this is definitely going to happen. This is definitely going to happen. Then what happens is that it doesn't happen because not everyone sees the board like you. So I think it's just, being patient and being fluid and having an understanding that there'll be more guys that you like later on in the draft, and not operating with that mindset that, again, everyone sees it just like you, and the exact guys you like are going to fall in the exact order. And that's one of the things that even to this day I struggle with because it's one of those things where our guys do such a tremendous amount of work, and it's a collective unit here, and it's a collective process, and there's an element of wanting to leave the draft with the guys that we're all excited about, and that leads to being aggressive because you just want to make sure you get those guys right. But there's certainly something to be said for being patient and dealing with more volume and having the ability to add more players to this roster. So I think patience is the biggest thing, and that's something I'm still working on today.
We'll keep going down the line here. We'll go to Pete Sweeney next. Pete?
Brett, just a question about your primary free agents. With Ken, does this signify potentially a reshaping of the offensive identity? And then just why Tonga and why Gilman?
Yeah, I think first off with Ken, to your point, Pete, we do have some talent on the offensive line. I mean, everyone knows the potential and the flashes that Josh has shown, and then working on that interior with Kingsley and Trey and Creed. I think it'd be a smart play to take advantage of that interior trio there, and to be more violent and to kind of utilize those guys in their strengths. So when you had a guy like Ken Walker, I mean, that was why he was so attractive to us. I mean, he has explosive speed, and he can do damage in the pass game. I don't think he got enough credit for that because they had Charbonnet, but I think when he squares his shoulders and he runs with power, runs with violence, but also has some elusive quality. So I think when you combine a back like that, and you have a talented as inside three as you do, I think it would make sense to want to go out there and impose your will on other teams' defensive lines, and look, it'll be beneficial for Pat too. I don't think we want him back there dropping back 50, 60 times a game, to start the season. So, I think that is going to be something we're looking forward to, and certainly with EB coming back here, I think, with his running back roots, there's going to be a high priority with that run game. So, I think we're excited about that. And, the other guys, as you mentioned, Pete, with Alohi, I mean, just having over the years, having a Tyrann Mathieu, then having a Justin Reed, just having a cerebral player there that sees the field, can be a leader back there, get everyone lined up. We lost Brian Cook too. So, we wanted to make sure that, and look, it doesn't mean we won't add if we can get a similar player that has those leadership capabilities back there, but certainly didn't want to go through an off season and kind of come away after the draft and not have a player like that. So I think, again, he fits that mold. And when you had success, I mean, like I mentioned, you had a guy like the Badger and you had a guy like Justin Reed back there. So although he kind of fits that bill, and I think really when you come into the offseason and you look at our defensive line, I mean, you have Chris Jones and then Omar Norman Lott, who's coming off an injury. I mean, I still think that we need two more. So Tonga was a guy that had a great season, and he gives us a little bit more of an athletic nose that does have some pass rush ability. But again, even with the addition of Tonga, I still think that we're a few short there. So that will be certainly a definite position of need for us entering next week.
We'll go to Nate Taylor next. Nate?
Hey, Brett, two questions for you. What fascinates you most about this collection of receivers near the top of your guys' board? And secondly, do you see that there are similarities to the 2022 draft process that you guys went through, considering you have 9 picks this year, or is it dissimilar in your opinion?
Well, to that second question, Nate, I think it's similar because I think the more picks you have, the more fluid you can be. So I think and having 2 first-round picks like we did back then, I think it allows to move in either direction and work in volume. I think when you're enter a draft and you only have a few picks, you're kind of sandwiched in, and the ability to trade up is limited. But I think even when you go back to 22. We were sitting there, I think in the early 20s and late 20 or 30. I don't even remember the picks when we moved up for Trent. They were still late 1. I think this is unique because we do have a volume of picks, but we're at 9 and 29. So I think that there's ability to, maybe move back at 9 and up at 29, or maybe move up at 1 and back in 29. So I think that like the 22 draft, it's exciting because you come in there with flexibility, but I also think that there's even more flexibility. And then to your first question, the receivers at the top of the draft, I think obviously, Tyson and Tate have the size and the intermediate and deep field creative playmaking ability, and then Mekhi Lemon is just so dang productive inside, and he's such a savvy route runner. And I know there's a lot of Mbuka and JSN comps, and we've seen how successful those guys have been in the NFL. And so when you get just a highly instinctive player, that maybe they have some limitations in regards to just an outside receiver, but they are so effective in there that they still cause havoc for other defenses, and they're still players you want on their team. So I think, those guys, and then you throw the Coopers in there, and I'm probably missing a couple, but, it's a good collection of wideouts. And like the defensive line, as I mentioned earlier, Nate, I do think, though, there are really good solid pockets in 3 and 4. So there's a lot of good depth there, and I think that runs from 1 through 4 at the receiver position.
Nate, did you have? Okay, we're all good there. We'll go last 3 to Vahe first. Vahe, go ahead.
Hey, Brett, thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
Obviously you have urgency every year about the draft, but I wonder, is there some different feel to this at all after coming off a 6-11 season? And is it? I don't know what it would shift, but does it seem or feel different to you because of that?
I mean, for me, it doesn't, just because there's a high level of anxiety every draft, and there's a lot of high expectations around here. And so, I don't think I've entered this process feeling more in any one way, just because I feel like, the way we're wired around here, it's, even if we had a better season last year, we would still have made some of these moves with Trent and some of these guys moving on. So there'll still be a high level of anxiety here. So, I think we just look at this as an opportunity, to make our roster better. And so that element of this whole process is exciting. But I don't think that, you ever get too high or too low. I think the expectations are never going to change. And, again, even if we had a playoff season, you would feel like, it's funny because, this is the maker. It feels like every season is a make or break draft, and that's because it is in this league, and it's like that for every GM across the league, and no one really remembers or cares what you did last year, and that's good. That's a good and a bad thing. But again, we're just looking forward to next week and using this as an exciting opportunity to add some talent to this team and hopefully get us back in the playoffs and hopefully another title run.
And just the follow up, but obviously you have great flexibility because of the number of picks and the couple first round picks. What's the challenge, particularly at the first round pick? I mean, it obviously opens up your imagination, but to have those two, What degree of complication does it add, even though it's a great benefit?
Well, I think the process starts off like extremely complicated because, as I mentioned, there's a number of different ways we can approach this. But I think that, when you get through the combine, through the pro days, the 30 visits, the Zoom meetings, and then, I don't think that there's a day this week, Vahe, that I didn't meet with Steve for 45 minutes or meet with Andy for 45 minutes and just review everything. And so I think as the weeks go by, the process kind of opens up and I think the picture becomes more clear. And I think we've identified exactly what we want to do. And now it's on me and my staff to figure out, we have the game plan now. Now we have to go out there and execute it. And so I think, that's the fun part of this, and that's the exciting part of this. But I think that as we get closer to Thursday, I think we all feel good. And really, even today, I think we know exactly kind of what we want to do. And it's just making sure that we can be in a position to do that.
We'll go last two here. We'll go to Matt first. Matt, Derek, go ahead.
Hey, Brett, you mentioned the 30 visits, and I'm curious, with having the 9 and 29 this year, has it changed the way that you have used those 30 visits than in past years?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. So in the past, picking at 32, we've probably spent most of those 30 visits on non-combine players that we wanted to get medical on. We spent a lot of our time with those prospects that we felt would be in that 20 to 40 range at the combine. And having a late pick, I think the numbers that we were looking at were different. I felt we were good with the information we got with those players. This is a unique draft where when you're picking at 9, and with the uniqueness of the draft in and of itself, less quarterbacks and, maybe less, like usually you get 2 or 3 high-level defensive tackle prospects. And so having those limited numbers. And then as I mentioned a little while ago, like the grades are so close now with these guys from say 10 to 30, 10 to 35. You want every bit of information you can get. And so I mean, look, we brought in maybe 3 or 4 non-combine guys, where I think in the past we brought in 10 to 15 non-combine guys. I feel like we brought in every defensive end in the NFL or the NFL draft that could be drafted this weekend, and we must have brought in about 12 of those guys. But again, that's because the grades are so close, and may have the opportunity to get one of those guys at 9, it may be 29, and just making sure we cross all our I's and dot all our T's. So I think the distribution of the talent and where we're picking certainly lent itself for us to let's just knock them all out. And that was helpful and beneficial for us. But it did take away from our ability to bring in some of those non-combine guys. And that's why I went back to my earlier comment and thanking Rick and his staff, because, we're asking him to do some, unorthodox things with some of these later round picks. But, we have all the confidence in the world with Rick and his staff. And but to your original question, Matt, yes, it did kind of affect the way we handled that process.
Seren, go ahead and close us out.
Thank you, and I'll have a follow-up or two. Brett, let's start, first of all, the Ruben Bain accident that came out. A lot of people have said, well, teams knew about it. I'd just be curious, one, when you were aware of that and how that affects his status.
Yeah, well, first off, look, we were probably aware of that at the start of the season. I think happened obviously a few years ago, and when we had we always, when we're at St. Joe before our scouts leave, we always get together and kind of review some of the top prospects, and that was something that we started that process a year ago. And as far as that impact, look, it's our responsibility to do our due diligence and fully vet each player as always. And it's, I think, like with any case, we do so with the understanding that all these cases are different and unique. And, this is our job. And this is the most important part of our job is really, getting the player right. And the whole body of work, what he does on the field, what he does off the field. And so I think we just approach it with every case is unique and different. But again, I mean, that's something that above all, I mean, is the most important part of what we do. You know, how these guys are going to come in here and they have to be successful on the field, but also off the field. So it's part of the process. You know, needless to say, we spent a lot of time with him, you know, at the combine, brought him here, had a lot of meetings with a lot of different people. And, you know, that process is consistent with not just him, but with all of our players that, you know, we bring in here and that we have on our draft board.
Okay, and then you mentioned some of the lessons you've learned over the years. When a pick hasn't worked, like, have you found a theme? Are there things? Have you found a blind spot that's there, or is it a combination of maybe trying to sync up with? You mentioned what the coaches want and what they're looking for. Is there a theme when you go back and try to correct the ones that haven't worked out?
Yeah, I think that early on, you know, I think that recently, I think that the vision, the fit, I think we've been locked in, and you know, I think like when people mention that, I mean, look, we lost 2 corners in the offseason, one Trent and one Jalen, and aside from them, you know, the guys that we brought in over the years, you know, the Sneeds and, you know, last year Noah Williams, and we've had success there. And I don't think it's a fluke. I think it's because of just being aligned with the vision and the fit and the role with Steve. And, you know, on the offensive side, I mean, Coach and I have been like that since our days in Philly. So I think that's the biggest part, just making sure you have the vision and the fit all lined up. So I think that's why over the last few years we've been really successful. But I do think, though, that, you know, if you miss on a player, you know, it's probably the character and the love for football, and we all get enamored by, you know, what a player can do. And I think that everyone has an element. Well, if he's in our environment, it'll be different. If he's in our environment, it'll be different. And just to your question, Saran, just learning over the years that, you know, we do have a great environment here. And if anyone's going to get the best out of any player, it's going to be here. But even some of those players, it's hard. And I think so, you know, just making sure we're tweaking that process and making sure that we've identified not just the right players, but I mean, no one's going to be perfect, and you're not going to always get Pat Mahomes and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith in regards to just mental makeup. But the guys that you do, quote unquote, roll the dice for, like, you know, the plan, the approach, all that kind of stuff, just, you know, working on that over the years. But again, I go back to the mistakes you make are guys that at the end of the day, they just don't love football. And even though you thought you were going to change them, you didn't. And I think that's one of those things that, again, we try to do better with that process and identifying those things and making sure that we're looking for the right traits and characteristics that do lend itself to future change. And so I would say that's the biggest thing.
Thanks so much for the time, Veach. That's all we have for you. And
Yep.
we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, there is Chiefs General Manager Brett Veach. A lot of stuff as we expected to unwrap and get into and talk about. Tons and tons of meat on the bone with the things that he discussed, and learning from the previous drafts, learning from a lot of different things, and the things he said about this draft. Boy, there is tons to get into. Matt Lane will be our guest coming up at 11 o'clock. We'll ask him his thoughts on things he may have heard from Brett Veach. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB on this Thursday edition of the show. Now, if you are looking to make some money in this crazy game called sports wagering, listen very closely. On the phone right now, legendary Christopher Atkins, a.k.a. the Bookie Killer. Chris on the show every week giving out free winners. Today, no different. Being in the sports consulting industry for 42 years, Chris has established a way to beat the books against the point spread on any given game day, and willing to prove it to you absolutely free with the winner of this Royals-Tigers battle coming up in a little more than an hour from now. All you got to do is dial 1-800-885-2525, 1-800-885-2525. You'll be connected to a free recorded hotline where you're going to get the winner absolutely free with no strings attached. Chris, welcome back. As always, brother, I know it's a huge time for you, not only with Major League Baseball, but now you got the NBA playoffs going on. You know, it's about showing us the money, Chris. The money never sleeps, brother. How you getting this information and giving out these winners, man?
Jason, what's happening? Thanks for having me once again, and you're 100% correct. Money never sleeps. I've been doing this for 42 years. You guys hear me on this radio every single week. I've got clients upon clients getting involved with us. They get the free game. They see what we're all about, and then they sign up with us. It's all about beating the bookmaker against the point spread. That's the bottom line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my top selection going off in baseball at 12:10 Central Time today. Like you said, the Royals are playing the Tigers. I've got tremendous information on this game. I eat, sleep, and drink sports. So what you have to understand is that I do this for a living, all right? This is not a hobby for me. I know how to make my people money. So what I have to do is I've got to show you what winning is all about. Once again, as Jason said, all you have to do right now is dial 1-800-885-2525. Again, that's 1-800-885-2525. You'll be connected to my free recorded hotline, and you will get the winner of today's Kansas City Royal Detroit battle at 12:10. And if you like what you see, give us a call after, and maybe you'll sign up with us.
And you know what? Right now is a great time because college basketball came and went, and winners all over the place in that. Now we got Major League Baseball, the NBA playoffs just starting up. Hey, you know what, Chris? We don't have to worry about guys sitting out or any load management. Everybody's out there, everybody's playing. So now you need a little bit more information than just, hey, this guy isn't going to play. Cool, I'll play the other side.
You know what it is? I mean, at this time of year, it's phenomenal. It really is. It's a bankroll building time of year. You mentioned the NBA. Do you know there's about 65 days of NBA playoff games right through probably June? So, again,
nice.
If you can get involved with me, if I could show you what winning is all about and how to make money against the point spread, it'd be a great opportunity to generate revenue for yourself and your family. So, once again, let's start with the baseball today so I can prove myself to you. What I want you to do is dial 1-800-885-2525. You'll get the free winner today between the Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers. Again, it's on my free recorded hotline. All you have to do right now is dial 1-800-885-2525.
And Chris proven every day, absolutely free, what winning is all about. And today coming up just afternoon, Royals and Tigers. Dialing free, recorded hotline to get that game, 1-800-885-2525, 1-800-885-2525. No sales pitches, no hype, a huge information winner to get you to build that bankroll. Again, the winner of the Royals and Tigers, absolutely free on a free recorded hotline, 1-800-885-2525. You can be a winner today. Chris, you're the man as always, brother. Best of luck today, and we'll catch up soon.
Jason, have a great afternoon. Once again, it's 1-800-885-2525, my free blowout today.
Chris Atkins, 1-800-885-2525. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Matt Lane coming up next.
KCSN is brought to you by Dick Ray Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Are you planning to spend money on a new AC or furnace repair this year? Dick Ray can help. Show us a 2025 HVAC repair invoice from any company, and we'll credit that amount towards a new system up to $2,500. Call 913-DICK-RAY or go to dickray.com for details.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy. Boy, there is a ton to get into and talk about. We are a week away from the NFL draft. I appreciate when Brett Veach talks, and I appreciate when J.J. Piccolo talks, because I do think we get morsels of information. Maybe there are some smoke screens that are out there, but I think there's some answers that I think have a little bit more weight behind them than some others. Like if Andy Reid was the GM, I would not care about what Andy Reid was saying in a pre-draft press conference. You would get nothing. We always get something from Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast here in the show, in the zone with us. Matt, what's going on? How you doing today?
Listen, I'm doing good. We are a week out from the big day. We have almost made it to the adult male football fan Christmas time of the year. So I'm pretty excited.
It is so crazy and fun that it is such a popular day for all of us grown dorks out there. That friends and acquaintances and just so many guys our age and younger just talking about the draft. Oh man, what's going to happen in the draft? And at the end of the day, it's like, maybe you get a couple, 3 good players out of the entire draft, but it's just, I don't know what it is that makes it such an exciting TV event that is such the buildup. But it certainly is that with our generation and younger and older.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm just thinking, even when I was younger, I always liked the draft. I always very much nerded out on it. But it was a lot more difficult to really talk about it in public, to find information about it. It wasn't a thing. It just happened. And, you sat down and you watched it if you wanted to, and you tried to read at the time, like magazines or whatever little bits Mel Kiper was putting out there on the ESPN. But it has become a full-on thing at this point in time, and I'm sure obviously the Super Bowl and some playoff games, maybe opening day. But I assume the draft's got to be right up there with the big marquee island football games for some of the most watched and anticipated stuff for all of the NFL. It's not even a season anymore. NFL year is what they've turned it into.
Yeah, it's crazy. The draft is just, NFL, NBA draft is a big deal. Major League Baseball has made it into a TV event, and I'm watching that and everything. So it is fascinating with the draft. And you know what it does? It goes back to our fantasy days, our fantasy football, fantasy baseball, because we all participate in those, and we all know what it's like to draft and moving up and down, and that's what makes it fun. And that's probably what makes even more intrigue this year, is coming off a 6-11 season. It is a vital draft, maybe even more important than the 2022 draft. We'll see, because even in that 2022 draft, you had a younger Chris Jones, a younger Travis Kelce, a younger, less injured Patrick Mahomes. And so now you've got Mahomes coming off an injury. He's had some ankle problems. You've got Kelce probably in his last year. Chris Jones maybe a couple of years left. So we will see what this draft brings. But I guess we'll start with this overall draft this year in 2026. What's the importance, and is this the most important, second most important draft of Brett Veach's time? Or how would you describe what is ahead of this Chiefs team, 7, 8, 9 days from now?
It's probably the most important one. That kind of maybe sounds silly to say in hindsight, because you had to set everything up for this run, but I think now there's expectations, right? There's a different level of expectation now for this team, for Brett Veach, for the coaching staff, for everybody than there ever has been. And we're coming off the worst season we have seen from them essentially since Andy Reid got here, and it's definitely since Patrick Mahomes took over as the starter. the expectation is to get right back on the horse and get back to where you were. And I do think that we have to be realistic as fans and know that that might not be in one off season, but we want to see signs that it's heading that direction. So I do think there's definitely pressure to come out of this entire offseason at least with like taking a step forward towards getting back to the top of the mountain. And if you kind of tread water this year, even if the plan is more of a 2-year kind of rebuild, if you just come out and tread water this year, I do think, I don't want to say anything related to hot seats, but I think that you start feeling real pressure of, oh, okay, is there a window still here? What's the next step if you don't start to make any real improvement? So I think it's a huge offseason, and you have a good amount of draft capital this year. So you better start cashing some of it in. It would be really unfortunate to come out of this draft with this much like high-end draft capital with the 4 picks in the top 75 picks and come out of it and just like, that was an okay draft, or that was pretty good and not great.
Do you find it to be as, quote, unique of a draft that Brett Veach has said a couple of times? He said it's a unique draft. Do you find you agreeing with him in how he's trying to describe the uniqueness of this particular draft?
Absolutely, because some of your best players in this draft play, I mean, he talked about it during his press conference, they play these non-premium positions, and you're going to have some teams that look at a Jeremiah Love, a Caleb Downs, a Sonny Styles, and say, yeah, they might not play what we consider a premium position, but they're the best players, so we're going to take them. And you might have other teams that go, we aren't going to spend this early pick on a position that we don't think provides as much value to a team as this other one does. So I think it makes it very unique in that your best players don't play premium positions. Your players that do play what we consider those high-valued positions are all imperfect. Like, there's not really a clear-cut, this guy is definitely a blue-chip prospect at defensive end, at wide receiver, at offensive tackle, at whatever it is. You don't have that guy. And so I think to what Veach said during his presser today was, hey, that's going to make the draft. There's going to be guys that are going to be sliding a little farther than you think. There's going to be guys that are taken earlier than you think, and it's kind of hard to put your finger on who they're going to be given the way this class is shaping up.
Visiting with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Okay, so I want to talk about wide receiver because it seems like Jordan Tyson is the flavor of the week the last couple of weeks. You and I have talked for a while. I've had Jordan Tyson as my favorite wide receiver in this particular draft, but I understand why people like Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon. I know that's one of your favorite players in the draft. But what Brett Veach said today was the wide receiver group is, quote, not as top-heavy, end quote, and then talks about some of the gaps or pockets, I should say, that he says, 1 through 4, there's some mid-round pockets as well, but he called it not as top-heavy. So I'm curious from your standpoint and looking at the different positions and this particular one in wide receiver, when he says it's not as top-heavy, is it that there's not a, like, Jamar Chase top-end player, or maybe there's not a group of top-end players that could fit the mold of a true number one? What do you hear when you hear Brett Veach say the wide receiver group, there are pockets in 3rd and 4th round, the depth goes really 1 through 4, but it's not as a top-heavy wide receiver class?
Yeah, I think it is an interesting thing to think because I think it's a little bit more of the former and that there's just not, like a lot of stuff, there's not this clear-cut, next year's going to have Jeremiah Smith. And however it turned out for Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors coming off the injury, like you don't have that level of wide receiver in this class. Mm-hmm. So everybody that's in this top tier, you're kind of dealing with it as a half step down from those type of players. I think that's what he means because even when he talked about the depth, he mentioned round 3, 4, and it was more of as like, hey, it's kind of got some depth here. You're not expecting to get day 1 or even early career starters. Once you get into late day 2, early day 3, that's more of role players, developmental guys. And yes, the wide receiver is always going to be deep in that area. That's just there's so many good, skilled athletes that have practiced playing wide receiver all growing up that you're constantly going to have these mid-round wide receivers. The question becomes, how do you get guys that come in and earn, deserve, and make themselves get targets early on? So I think that's where you kind of focus on how he put it, those top 4 guys. He said maybe he left a couple names out, so, we can linger on that sentence if you want to, if you go back and listen to it. Mm-hmm. But I do think the fact that he separated, like, hey, there's a top group and talked about those players, and then there's also depth later on. But again, I think the word depth is doing a lot of work there because that's more of how you look at rounds 3 and 4, I think.
Yeah, and depth in terms of guys that can come in and play. but not depth where it's like, we've seen, in years past where it was like, this is an offensive line depth where there's like 6 starters at left tackle, or this is the running back class last year. Like, oh my God, the depth of the running back class, it's high end and it just, goes on for days. He talked about the wide receivers, though, and this is what I think is interesting because, the top 3 guys, I think, are the consensus of Tate, Tyson, Lemon in some order, depending on what you like. That seems to be those 3, and then a gap, and then the others. And with some, maybe it's a small gap, but there certainly is a difference between those 3 and the other wide receivers. I've liked Tyson. People have their opinions on Tate. People have their opinions on Mekhi Lemon. He talked about wide receiver, and he said those 3 guys, and he said Tyson and Tate, they've got the size, the intermediate production, and things like that. And then he said, he went into a little more depth with Mekhi Lemon. I thought that was interesting. You got Lemon that's productive inside, a savvy route runner. You see the comparisons of JSN and Ibuka, and certainly we see those as well. And you want some, and then he goes, and Amar Cooper, and there's another couple of names too. But do you glean anything from that to where it's like, well, Tyson and Tate, they've got the size, the intermediate. Mekhi Lemon, productive inside, savvy route runner. You see the comparisons of JSN. I know that Mekhi Lemon is a Matt guy at the draft guide. So when you hear Brett Veach sort of expand a little bit more on what Mekhi Lemon is doing, any chance that the Jordan Tyson to the Chiefs is a smokescreen by the Chiefs and they really like Mekhi Lemon more?
So before the press conference, I don't want to say the Chiefs aren't interested in Jordan Tyson because I have absolutely positively no idea. I just think that I did think it's a little convenient that the week of Tyson's private workout, we have gotten the full-on Tyson is now, in competition with Tate for wide receiver 1 campaign. I think the timing of this hype for him coming up, not just to the Chiefs, but in general, is conveniently located the same week as his private workout. That said, listening to the press conference, Veach going in more depth on Mekhi Lemon, saying what I think is generally positive things and why I see him as the way I do as my top wide receiver in this class, makes me think that they might be less likely to take him. Because why are you gonna openly talk more about the guy that you want in a public press conference than not? You know what I mean? There was no reason to go in that much depth onto Mekhi Lemon. So the fact that he lingered on, now you can sit here and say, don't overthink it. He was just talking about a guy they like, which is possible. My gut feeling was after that presser, I think it's a little less likely that he is a guy that they have targeted necessarily at pick 9, that they are trying to get that early. I hope that I am wrong based on what they said. But yeah, I don't think they're going to talk about a guy they really, really want to target at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. He mentioned there's so much gray area. He said it's going to be a lot of fun for the fans next week because this thing can go any different direction because, he said, there's not 2 or 3 quarterbacks. There's not a Will Anderson or a Myles Garrett Hutchinson to where those guys are going to be gone in the top 3 or 4. So now you've got 4 or 5 picks that are like those are the 4 or 5. And then it starts to get into a little bit. But now pick number 2 could, be a number of different players. And pick number 3 and everything then changes off of those particular things. But, him getting in and explaining, all of that. And one of the things that I've liked about wide receiver in the Jordan Tyson is, I've said that if Jordan Tyson is the Chief, I think he'd be one of the best wide receivers in the AFC immediately. It is the injury concern that people have talked about. I'm not as concerned about the injuries like some others are. If I was, then I wouldn't have Jordan Tyson as my number 1 receiver. Is it for you Lemon over Tyson because of some of the issues with the injuries or the injury concern? Or even if Tyson didn't have the injury concern, what Lemon does as opposed to Tyson is why you go with Mekhi and somebody that you think is number 1, not only wide receivers, but I like the way that you guys describe it as in fit for the team as well, that best wide receiver, but also, this could be the best wide receiver for specifically the Chiefs too.
Yeah, it's a pretty loaded question. So, if Tyson had no injury concerns, at all, if you just erased all of his injuries and we'll just say the production stayed the same, everything stayed the same, he'd probably be close to, if not in the tier that I have Tate and Lemon in, but I'd still have Lemon above him and Tate in that world, just because I think the thing that separates, I guess, Lemon and Tyson for me is I think Lemon consistently, he still has to develop, right? There's a guy that's only played wide receiver full-time in college for 2 years. He started out playing both ways at USC. So it's not like he doesn't have to develop, but he seems to continuously have a very clear and detailed plan on how he wants to get open. Tyson, to me, feels like he's kind of freelancing it a little bit more often, and there's numerous times where I think that's thrown off his timing. And so if I'm thinking about the Chiefs and trying to run a more clean operation, trying to be a little bit more reliable, trying to be a little bit more consistent, I think I lean towards the guy that if he is getting open, he's going to do it right when the quarterback expects him to, and then he's going to catch the football no matter where it is around him, no matter how much physicality is coming. I mean, I think Lemon has some of the best hands that I've scouted in recent years for any wide receiver, whereas Jordan Tyson's are a little bit more up and down. He'll make a spectacular catch, but then if you watch like 2024, he was dropping quite a few passes, or he'd short arm some stuff over the middle. So I think there's a little bit more reliability to what Lemon brings right now, whereas, I can acknowledge that Tyson's size and some of his lateral agility gives him maybe a little bit more ceiling in some regard. I just think Lemon's consistency and reliability on day one, while still needing to improve too, gives him just a consistent level that I feel a little bit more comfortable with.
Visiting with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. I want to talk about offensive line because it's been one of the themes of the mock draft season is the Chiefs at number 9 taking an offensive lineman. Peter Schrager has offensive line at number 29. Brett Veach saying today, and I think he got pretty detailed and candid about the offensive line, and he said, there's these offensive linemen that are going to be good from 10 to 20 to 25, and he said after the top 10, there's going to be a run on these guys, and by pick probably 35, it's going to be pretty slim picking for offensive tackles. You hear that from Brett Veach. I've been fine with them taking a tackle at 29. Totally fine with that. I'm not as big of a fan of taking a tackle at 9. But if he feels like, okay, there might be some depth at different spots, said depth at defensive end throughout the board. But he really talked about if you're going to get a tackle that's going to play, you better get him in the top 35. So probably not your third pick at pick 40. What do you take away from that? And does that lean one way or another that if the Chiefs are going to go offensive line, it's probably going to be there with 29? And heck, maybe it's a move some picks around to slide up and get somebody at 29 that may or may not, in their view, be there at that spot.
Yeah, I think it was first thing is it doesn't sound like offensive tackle at 9 is where they see the best value there, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but specifically just talking about, hey, if the guys don't go in the top 10, you're going to see them come off between more like the 10 to 25 range, and I think that's the pocket of where I start to feel more comfortable with this tackle class too. And that was just maybe that's my own bias, but that was what I think the read that I got from what he said. Then to follow that up, it doesn't feel like they think there's a really good chance that you are going to get a early career, or maybe at all, starting offensive tackle at pick 40. They kind of sounds like they expect him to come off the board mid to late round 1, maybe before where they pick at 29. So I think he was very much opening that door to say, hey, if we move up a couple spots, or if we take a tackle at 29, it's because we don't think there's any, we think there's the end of a cliff here, and this guy's kind of the best player available, and we're going to keep leaning into that mantra a little bit. So I think that he very much left the door open to see a first-round offensive tackle, but I did leave it thinking I don't think that's going to be their pick at 9.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you on that. I wouldn't want them to pick that at number 9. I with what they have and the offensive line, even at right tackle, I'm more confident in Josh Simmons than maybe some national pundits are. Obviously, there is the possibility of him leaving the team for a month. All right. I mean, that's always going to be there in the back of your mind. Matt Lane is our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Brett Veach brought up about the defensive line. He was asked about Tonga, and in describing and talking about Tonga, he said, we need 2 more. We got him, but we definitely have some weakness there with the depth. And he said, quote, it's a definite position of need entering next week. Okay, so how would you see the board if that is something that Brett Veach is saying, we need 2 more of these guys? Is it they need 2 more of those guys to where they may go high end at number 29, or trade up and get somebody at number 29. Maybe their board has a pick at number 9 interior defensive lineman better than some others, and they're looking at it and saying, this guy is a top 10 pick, and we're seeing mock drafts, and he's not up there. Or depth that's there that maybe you wouldn't mind a mid-round pick, like, I don't know, I'm throwing a dart here, Caleb Proctor, in maybe like the 3rd or 4th round or something like that. What did you make of Brett Veach talking about Tonga and specifically saying, yeah, we need 2 more of these guys?
Yeah, I think you look at this depth chart and, like, it's pretty clear to say that they need them. I think maybe the emphasis that he was putting on it was everybody's been talking about the edge rushers, the defensive end spot, and they're not catering to what us as fans are saying on the outside, but that has been the majority of the talk, has been a lot more about what's going on at the defensive end room, and I think he's kind of like reiterating, hey, we're also not good at defensive tackle. And so I think he's just kind of like leaving that door open for if they go defensive tackle, whether it's earlier in this class, whether it's a couple picks in the middle, that room is certainly not filled out. Don't forget about it. And I think it's important for this class because there's not a high-end talent at D-tackle. There's not, I don't even think, a round 1 lock. It wouldn't be shocking to me to see no defensive tackles go in the first round. Do I think it's likely? No, somebody probably takes one, but I don't think there's somebody that's like a lock to go there. So if you get to pick 40 or 74 and there's all of a sudden somebody that they really liked playing D-tackle left, but they haven't addressed corner or wide receiver or defensive end or whatever, I think he's just leaving the door open to say, hey, if we have a defensive tackle graded higher that's available, we're not going to reach for these other positions that we all think are needs as well. We will take a D-tackle because we can get them on the field quickly and we like them better.
Is there a well, you know what? Let me ask you about Caleb Proctor then. It's one of your guys in the draft guide that's out right now, which one of the things that I love, we talked with Kent last week, is that you guys list the players that are some of your favorites in the draft, and I appreciate that you don't just go, here are all my favorites, and they're all first-round picks. I really love these first-round picks. So you've got 6 guys, and only 2 of them would be in the first round. The other ones are 3rd and 4th round grades, but there is an interior defensive lineman here in Caleb Proctor from southeastern Louisiana that you guys list as a 4th round grade. If that's a mid-round pick for the Chiefs, what do you like about him as to why he became one of your guys in the draft guide?
And fun little spoiler, too, on those. I'm supposed to have 7 my guys, but I put one down for a guy that didn't even make a write-up. So I had a guy that's even, Red Murdoch, linebacker out of Buffalo, got a my guy stamp, and he didn't even make the write-up. So I have one that's not even in the book.
There you go. You got a UDFA my guy. I love it.
Right. Caleb Proctor, you just got to watch the LSU game, right? You're playing at southeastern Louisiana, so you don't have the biggest level of competition. So what you want to see when you watch that is, does he move different than other guys at that level? Does he take over games versus the lower level of competition? And I thought he did that. But then you also get to see him play Louisiana or LSU, and you're like, oh, not only is he taking over games versus this lower level competition, but when they played an SEC school, he stood out as not just like holding his own, but really good in that game. So like you weigh that one game really, really high. Then he goes to the Shrine Bowl, looked really good down there against players that played at different levels of competition, performed well at the combine. So it's just kind of like a steady upward trajectory. And like where he stands out to me, why he kind of made a my guy list, and maybe it's a little bit of a result of this class. There's not a lot of pass rushers in the defensive tackle class this year. It's a lot of one techs, a lot of run stuffers. There's not a whole lot of pass rushers. So when you see a guy that has a pretty good build, he's only 295-ish pounds, but has good long arms. He's built well and kind of like a little bit leaner and more linear with a little bit kind of longer legs for a D tackle. And then you see us get off the ball and the ability to adjust his body angle, make his pads small so he can knife in there and actually get penetration and rush the passer. You start to get really intrigued compared to your Caden McDonald's, compared to, your Dominique Oranges, Dante Corleones, all these bigger kind of more nose tackle builds. And so he just really popped out for me. And I think there's a lot of pass rushing upside. And so I'm spinning it forward to the Chiefs. They eventually need somebody that kind of replaces Tershawn Wharton's role. Kairos Tonga, love the signing, but he's more of a nose tackle. Even Omar Norman-Lott, we don't know what he's going to be post-injury, but last year when he was playing, he didn't really play with that same level of explosion as like a 3-tech that he kind of did at Tennessee and the way he was presented pre-draft. So I'm looking for someone to fill in that Tershawn Wharton type role. And I think Proctor in the mid rounds is a guy that can definitely do that with his athleticism and ability to get into the backfield.
Who do you like the most out of the top defensive linemen? If it's McDonald or Banks or Woods or you mentioned Big Citrus or Lee Hunter at Texas Tech. Like, is there a guy that if the Chiefs picked at 29 or 40 that, let's say every interior defensive lineman is available at 29 or 40 and they select one, which would be the one that you'd be looking at and saying, you know what, if they're going to take somebody there, this is the guy that with the value and what he can do for the Chiefs?
Yeah, it's I'm gonna cheat a little bit here because technically Caden McDonald is my highest graded defensive tackle. And so if he's a pick at 29, I'm happy with that. It's not my favorite pick, but I feel pretty good about that. I have him more, I think, is like a mid second round grade, so in a draft, or early second round grade, so in a draft going late first, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at 29 and they're all available, I am going to have a hard time passing on the upside that is Peter Wood still. And I know the athletic testing didn't match what we were hoping, but he's graded right behind McDonald for me. They're in the same tier. I think McDonald's got a little bit safer floor with the run defensibility, but betting on some of the movement that I have seen from Peter Woods in college would also intrigue me a little bit if we're talking, pick 29.
Yeah. Matt Lane is our guest. Do you think the Ruben Bain news comes out? Do you think that impacts his draft stock? Brett Veach talked about it. Didn't really get into whether or not it affected his draft stock, but just that they were aware of it at the start of the season. They review all the top prospects, and all cases are different. They have a responsibility to do the due diligence and vet every player. You got to get the player right on and off the field. We spent a lot of time with him at the Combine. We spent a lot of time meeting with him here, but never addressed if he thinks there's a draft stock impact with this. Matt, do you think the news about Ruben Bain that came out this week impacts his draft stock?
Ultimately, no. I think, like Brett Veach said, this has been known, I think, for NFL teams for a while. I think people had been, kind of skirting around it because of the request of the family, because of everything that was still going on. So it hadn't come super, super public, but it was known. NFL teams knew about it. If you liked Ruben Bain before this news gets out as a team, you probably still like him. If you didn't like Ruben Bain as a team before this news became more public or you found out about it, yeah, you might get to rely on this news a little bit to help push him down your board even farther, or just to say, nah, we're completely out. But I don't think it's swaying anybody from we liked him to now we like him less, or we liked him, now we don't like him at all, just because all the information we have kind of makes it, and I mean this as respectfully as possible here, it just sounds like it was a very, very unfortunate accident that happened. We have not heard of any true foul play or anything like that. So I just think that it's something that unfortunately happened. I don't think it has a huge impact on his stock overall, because the teams that liked him are still going to like him, I think, after this became public.
All right, last couple for you. Here we go. Quickly, because we won't talk to you before the draft. Do they pick at number 9, before, or after with their first pick in the draft?
Ooh, let's go with at number 9. I think they will certainly contemplate trading up. But I think, as Brett Veach alluded to, I think this board's going to be a little funny, and I might think he was alluding to saying non-premium positions are going to go earlier than we think, and if that's the case, they might be able to stick at pick 9.
All right, and then last question: who at pick 9 do they take?
Yeah, I think if the Chiefs were picking, the second pick in this draft with the entire board available to them, I think they would select Ruben Bain Jr., defensive end out of Miami. So I'm going to stick with that. I think that this opens it up for him to be available at pick 9, because, like I said, you might see a Styles or a Downs come off the board. That will make them feel comfortable with waiting till pick 9 to take Bain. But I do think he is right there at the top of their board, if I had to make a guess as of right now, at their top player in this draft if they had everybody available.
I know I said that was the last one. I've got a quick little follow-up. Would you be willing to trade up to 6 or 7 to get Ruben Bain if he's there, and the Chiefs are sort of itching and saying, this is our guy, would be a number 2 pick, and he's there at 7. Do we wait for pick 7 and 8, or do we move up and get him? Would you be fine if the Chiefs made a smaller move and to secure Ruben Bain?
Yeah, I think you move up if you want to get him and you think he's going to go. If you're nervous about like the Saints or somebody taking him, I think you would definitely go jump him if he is your guy that you have targeted. And it sounds like the Browns are desperate to get out, so maybe pick 6 isn't going to be quite as expensive as it would be in other years.
Interesting. Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Matt, you were the man as always, brother. Appreciate the time. Enjoy the draft next week. Looking forward to the analysis and your guys' breakdown. And looking forward to our conversation in a couple of weeks when we can talk about the rookies and getting ready for what would be rookie minicamp at that point. Thank you, Matt. You're the man.
Thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely. You too. There's Matt Lane. Great stuff from him. Go check out the draft guide. He's got 6 guys in the draft guide as Matt's guys. Mekhi Lemon, not a surprise because he loves Mekhi Lemon. Ruben Bain. And then he's got Georgia tight end Oscar Delp that has a 3rd-round grade. Arizona cornerback Traydon Stokes, a 3rd-round grade. Offensive tackle from Boston College, Jude Bowery, 4th-round grade. And then we talked about the interior defensive lineman Caleb Proctor from Southeastern Louisiana. That's a 4th-round grade that he likes. And he said there was also one other guy that he put a Matt's Guy stamp on that didn't even make the write-up in the draft guide.
It was Red Murdoch.
Red Murdoch.
Linebacker from Buffalo.
There you go. I'm glad that you remember that because I didn't write it down when he said that.
Well, we just did actually a write-up on the channel about it. He had more career forced fumbles at Buffalo than Khalil Mack.
Red Murdoch from Buffalo. Red Murdoch.
That's his name is Red Murdoch?
His name's like Khalil Murdoch, but
dude,
he goes by Red.
I'm all the way in. Wait, Red, that's that one movie where isn't the guy's name Red? Who
you talking about Shawshank Redemption?
Shawshank Redemption.
Are you talking about Friday? Red. My grandmama gave me that chain. He gonna cry.
I also love that.
I'm just gonna tuck mines in.
I love that movie. Fred's a great movie.
He gonna cry in the car.
Hell of a movie. Yeah, I was thinking of Shawshank Redemption though. Yes, I would. I don't care what he does. If he's any good at football, if he's 5'4", your name's Red Murdoch, I'm in.
I just don't think a 5'4" interior defensive lineman is going to do all that.
Leverage.
Great.
Low man wins.
You know what? He will be the low man. Even the guy in their 3-point stance, he'll be standing up, still low man. Crazy. But it sounds like maybe late pick or UDFA.
Lance Zerline says round 6 projection for Red Murdoch.
So with everybody's board being different, round 6 for somebody could be UDFA for another, or could be 4th rounder for another. Who knows? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We'll talk more about what we heard from Brett Veach, get into that, and some other things coming up next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, man, if you're out there, we were at the Independence location of Heartland Men's Health, which is between Blue Springs and Lee Summit. We were there yesterday, and certainly if you have issues with erectile dysfunction or low testosterone, it is the place to go for you. And Low T, they can figure out what your testosterone level is. They'll have your results within 30 minutes at Heartland Men's Health. But Heartland Men's Health is also helping men go further with 4 targeted body composition plans featuring the GH peptides, NAD+, GLP-1, PDA, and more. All designed to boost energy, support metabolism, enhance recovery, accelerating fat loss. And when you combine that with Low T treatments, most men notice real improvements, more energy, better focus, improved sleep, stronger workouts, and often a renewed libido. So simply schedule a consult with Heartland Men's Health today. Again, they'll do your lab work, have your results within 30 minutes, sometimes as quick as 15. Licensed medical provider will review the results with you, discuss your options, help you make the decision together with the medical team. Cost of the appointment, that's $99. That includes medical consult, T, and that PSA test. And if you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, you don't pay a dime. It's free. Heartland Men's Health, successfully treating men in the Kansas City area. 3 locations, conveniently there to serve you. Overland Park, Independence, between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. Call them today at 844-447-6600. Tell them you heard about it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. 844-447-6600, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com.
Featured therapies are compounded and have not been evaluated nor approved by the FDA. Provider prescription required. See website for details.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We heard from Brett Veach in the first hour of the show. We heard from Matt Lane right there. A lot of stuff to get into and talk about from Brett Veach. He said they have 200 to 250 players on their board, and every team, the other 31 teams in the NFL, will have different number of players and different players that will make up their entire board. And he said there's about 10 to 15 guys that you really want to get. Now, that is not 10 to 15 guys all in the first round. It's 10 to 15 guys that they're putting certain values on where you're in the third or fourth round and you're like, man, this is a guy right here. It's a guy we really want in this round. We really want this guy at this spot. And we just got to wait and be patient and be patient and be patient. 2 years ago, they really wanted Kingsley. They were trying to not trade up for him. They had to be patient, be patient, be patient. Andy Reid was wanting them to trade up and get Kingsley, BYU guy. Brett Veach was thinking about trading up to get Kingsley. They wait on him. They get Kingsley. Didn't work out as a tackle. Looks like a pretty good guard prospect from what he did in year one as a guard. Year two overall in his career, but year one as a guard. But those are the examples, I think, of when he says there are 10 to 15 guys that you really want. I think you identify the different areas of the draft and guys that you really like at that spot. I thought it was interesting when he was asked, your first draft to now, what have you learned from that? And maybe this goes into what we were discussing just then with Kingsley. And he said, patience is required. Said, you do so much work on these guys that you really want to then draft them. And you think, I thought this was interesting, he said, you think everyone sees the board like you do. And we do our mocks and we think something's going to happen. And then ultimately it happens and it's different. Because as you get later in the draft, your board is a certain way, and you're thinking, we got to go up and get this guy, but that's also assuming everybody's board is ranked the exact same. And he said it's about being patient and fluid and understanding that not everyone sees the board like you. You wanted to get guys, you're wanting guys and to trade up, and it leads, that's what he said, I'm trying to look at my notes. If there are guys that you really want, it leads you to being aggressive. And he said that's where the patience comes in. And he said, there's value in adding more guys and more volume.
Yeah.
Which is trading back, which is not something that he does. He
Not
doesn't
often.
typically do that. He doesn't typically trade back. I thought that was interesting because when the question was asked, I sarcastically said, don't move up for a need. Because that was his first draft. Traded up for a guy who was never on the ground. This guy's never on the ground. He's always up. He's really good. They traded up to get him. He was awful. They cut him 2 years later because he came in overweight.
Which, by the way,
Breland Speaks is what I'm talking about, by the way.
I will always give some credit to moving on as quickly as they did.
Yeah, I mean, year three, the guy is struggling and he shows up overweight.
Yeah. But that was his first draft pick.
It was, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. What do you learn from the first one? And now, don't be aggressive and reach on a need.
Yes.
Because it's a need as opposed to stay with your board.
It's funny. I think it's still edge this year, too.
Yeah.
I think edge is still the same spot.
Mm-hmm. But they have 9 and 29 and 40.
Instead of 40? What pick was
all
that?
Before Breland Speaks, they traded up to get him at pick number 46.
46, yeah.
So they've got 3 picks before that one that they traded up to get.
I will still give...
Because they lost their first rounder for trading for that scrubby Mahomes guy.
Obviously, he missed. But I do give Veach some credit for, again, the sunk cost method of saying, hey, I don't care where he was drafted. I don't care we traded up to get him. I don't care that this was my first draft pick, technically speaking, was Breland. And they moved on. It wasn't trying to make it work. He wasn't trying to force that to work. So I do give Veach some credit with that sunk cost methodology of, hey, I don't care where you were drafted. I don't care when, how it happened. Either you're a player or you're not. I don't care. Once you're on the team, you're on the team. Whether you're a first rounder or a seventh rounder, whoever's the better player, that's the guy we're going with. I've always somewhat respected that philosophy there. I thought, to me, the most fascinating part of the Veach conversation was how much talk was on the offensive line.
Yeah.
I thought there was way more O-line talk than I expected. You know, the notion of once it gets to 35, that it's basically
Slim
done.
pickings.
Basically done. Slim pickings after 35. I hope that doesn't mean 9.
Mm-hmm.
I would be fine at 29 if a guy fell.
But he said, if those guys don't go in the top 10, there's going to be a run from 10 to 20 to 25. And then after 35, it could be real slim picking for those. Which, does that lead you to think that they're not looking offensive tackle in the top 10? Because it's like, well, if they don't, these guys definitely go in the top 10. And if not, oh my God, there's no way they should be there. And obviously he wouldn't say it with that emphasis. But, some of these guys, if they don't go in the top 10, then there's definitely going to be a run on them from 10 to 20 to 25. Which, to me, it's like, okay, so if there's a run from 10 to 20 to 25, do you got to take that guy at 9 if you feel like there's a group of players that maybe you can move from 29 to 25 and get somebody that maybe is in the same pocket that would have gone from 10 to 15 on your board? Is it worth taking it at number 9 as opposed to maybe some other positions that may not have the depth in the second or third? Now, clearly offensive tackle doesn't have that.
No.
But it feels very top-heavy with this.
But not
top
elite
heavy
top
and
heavy.
then done.
It's like mid-first round heavy. It's not It's not top 10 heavy. It's that I think he's correct, but the thing that made me nervous was when he said, if you don't take one of the top 10, there'll be a run.
Yeah. Which is a good point. That's the.
I don't argue with the point, but then it made me nervous of.
But it's a good point for you that it's like if you don't
reach,
take, it's the opposite of what I thought.
Yeah, are you going to reach at? My thought was, does that mean not reach? But are you going to take a guy at 9 because you think that there's no chance you get it at 29, or do you trade back and take it? I don't know. I thought there was so much emphasis on tackle that it made me a little weary because again, 29, I'm okay with it. I don't love tackle at 29, but if a guy falls, fine. I'll acquiesce. If you take a tackle at 9, I'm going to be. Again, I may be pretty maybe upset's the wrong word because maybe he turns into, Joe Alt or Penei Sewell. But I don't see that guy in this draft. It just feels wrong.
But also, like,
he focused on protecting Patrick, too.
Yeah, and I think, like, when we talk about those guys, let's say specifically we're talking about Joe Alt and Penei Sewell. They didn't have Simmons when Joe Alt was being talked about as a tackle prospect.
Sure.
And we discussed, would you trade your next couple of firsts to go up and get a Joe Alt to then say, here's our left tackle for the next 10 years? And you can make an argument that it could have been worth it because then you would have traded, what was Joe Alt in 24?
I think it was 24.
So then you'd be trading Xavier Worthy and Josh Simmons for Joe Alt? Essentially
24.
So 2024, so you'd be trading Xavier Worthy and Josh Simmons, and maybe you'd have had to trade 28, 63, and then the first rounder in 25, so you'd be trading Worthy, Kingsley, and Simmons for Joe Alt.
That's a lot, though.
It becomes a little more steep from that standpoint that, yes, Worthy is not the crazy, true number one receiver Tyreek Hill guy. He was also drafted pick 28, not, pick 8. Kingsley has become what is looking like could be a real good guard in the NFL. And Simmons, if he's healthy, is a pretty decent version of Joe Alt. But the difference being, and when Brett Veach is talking about, you've got to have the scheme, the vision, and it's why everybody's board is different in what they value. The Lions taking Penei Sewell to play right tackle. The Chargers taking Joe Alt to play right tackle when they have already
Rashawn Slater.
Thank you, Slater. I mean, Ronnie Stanley and Rashawn Slater, I've never seen them in the same room at the same time because they are so interchangeable to me. But Rashawn Slater, you already had him. But you've got a running scheme. Detroit, you're biting kneecaps. You're running the ball. There's a lot more emphasis on we need to have these guys because this is something that we are going to do. Now, protecting Patrick Mahomes matters. But if you've got Simmons and Kingsley and Creed and Trey, and you've got Simmons you're hoping for the next 3 years at least on the rookie deal and hopefully longer, and you've got Kingsley for at least the next 2 years on a rookie deal, Creed's under contract, Trey's under contract, do you need to take pick number 9 to play right tackle when you're not necessarily going to be that team that's going to be built around an amazing offensive line so that Herbert and your run game can play off that, so that Goff and your run game can play off that. As opposed to, right tackle may not be the best position, but we can sort of scheme around that as long as it's only one position to be looking at. That's why I'm like those guys early on. Hey, Sewell and Alt, you take those guys and right tackles in top 10. It's also fit, vision, scheme, and what those teams want to do without having Patrick Mahomes. Whereas pick 29 to me makes sense because you also need to be drafting for needs in 2027.
Yeah.
You've got Jalen Moore that has 1 year left on his deal and Esapole that we don't know what he would look like as a starter. And if you took a tackle at 29, well, now in the draft in 27, you don't have to worry about tackle. In theory.
Again, 29, I'm fine with. I've come to the conclusion that I'm fine because of all those reasonings. Just 9 to me, I don't see that guy when there are glaring needs for this year,
100%.
Not just for the future, because edge to me is a glaring need. I think I'm less concerned at wide receiver than the average person. Like I think that we've gone a little too far. I do think that Kenneth Walker is going to open up a lot that will in turn make the wide receivers look better, because I do think the wide receivers are solid. Like I think Xavier Worthy is going to be a solid player this year. I think Rashee Rice, we know when he's not being a knucklehead, is a solid player.
But we're also talking about drafting for 2027
Agreed.
needs.
No, agreed. But I'm saying
without Kelsey and Rice in 2027.
100%. My thing is, though, for 2026, there are glaring needs, because right now at edge, you have Gelati or FAU as your starter on the other side of Karlaftis. And so that's more or less my point is I am looking for 27. I get tackle. I get wide receiver. I understand even cornerback or say, like, I get all that. But for this upcoming season, right now, the starter on the other side of Karlaftis is either Gelati or FAU. And my hope, my prayer, is that a 37-year-old will waltz in, hobble in, Cam Jordan. My hope is that he gets the walker with the tennis balls on the end, and this is the guy that's going to be a starter for the Kansas City Chiefs. Because right now, I don't want to see FAU or Gelati be a starter.
You know what my hope is that Bain's there at 9 and he's an all-pro player. We just have a different hope. You hope for an old guy to get there and be good. My hope is that Bain's there at 9 and he's an all-pro.
Can it be both? I hope for Bain at 9.
It's both!
I hope for Bain, and I hope for Cam Jordan to come on in.
Hey, and you know what? One of the other things that Brett Veach talked about with Tonga, he said still need 2 more interior defensive linemen. And it's a definite position of need entering next week. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. A number of things I want to get into and talk about. One more segment in this hour. At noon, I want to break down what I think at pick 9, there's a pick and then a strategy, a player and then strategy that I would want to implement. And it's one or the other. To me, there's really no gray area. It's one or the other. We'll talk about that at noon, what I mean for this team next Thursday night with pick number 9. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. And want to hear from Brett Veach in talking about the players that they have missed on have had this in common. I thought that was pretty fascinating. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk about the strategy at number 9 that I would like the Chiefs to implement. Pick specific player or this. We'll talk about that coming up at noon. Brett Veach was asked about a pick that hasn't worked out in the past. Is there a theme that's there that you can look at and say, you know, a theme or a blind spot, a pick that didn't work out? And he said that you find guys that don't love football. If you miss on a player, it's more character and love for football. There's always the element of thinking, quote, in our environment, it'll be different. But he said, you know, guys that we've had success with, you know, that we've been in sync with the vision and the role, the coaches and the fit. But the vision and the fit's been locked in, as he said, recently. But guys at the end of the day that don't love football are the ones that he finds to be the themes of misses in the NFL draft. And I guess, you know, that's where we get into, look, this guy's really talented, and it's what he's always done. But does he love the game? Does he love it? And it's always like weird when you think about professional athletes. You're like, of course they love the game. They're a professional athlete. You couldn't be that good if you didn't love the game. Not necessarily.
Ben Simmons is the one that always sticks out for me.
So incredibly gifted, but do you actually love? Because loving the game means that
Jamarcus Russell.
Right? Yes. Loving the game means that you're doing the stuff away from the field. That your life is about that. It's about the game. It's about getting better. It's about studying up. It's about, you know, watching film. It's about tweaking parts of your game and honing in on it. Nick Saban with the great line of, we're not going to work until we get it right. We're going to work until we don't get it wrong. Well, so you've got to put in so much work to where you are so good at it that you then don't get it wrong when you do it over and over again. All right, I'll work until I get it right. Okay, great, I got it right. I'm really talented. But now what?
It works in high school. It works in college.
Yeah.
It doesn't work when you get to the NFL. Your talent will, a lot of times,
shine through
in high school, for sure high school, and a lot of times in college. When you get to the NFL, everyone's so talented that it does come down to, hey, you got to love it. You got to put the effort in. You got to put the work in. Like Jamarcus, I'm sure that worked all in. I would imagine he did the same thing in college.
Yeah, does he have to watch as much film in college as then he had to do it when you were in the NFL? And studying and learning and knowing. And he even joked about, Brett Veach did, about, you know, being in the Zooms and, you know, the linebacker meetings and Zooms. And he's like, they're talking about things that I don't even understand what they're saying. You know, there's so much that the linebackers have to know with all of the different plays and schemes and adjustments and audibles and the things that happen with motion. And you've got to know who's doing what with each and every scenario. And if you don't love football, you're not going to do that. If you don't love it. But how do you find out if a guy loves it or not? And that's where you try to meet with them, talk with them, have them in for a 30 visit, have them at the combine. But ultimately, that guy is a job interview. And you know there are lots of people out there in the world. If you've ever done any hiring or firing, there are lots of people out there in the world that want the job but don't want to do the job. You work hard so you can get the job, but it's more about, hey, I got the job, rather than doing the work of the job. There's a lot of people out there. It's like, man, you worked your butt off. You got the job. Yep, I got it. Now I'm going to coast. Okay, well, then you're only going to be as successful for the next couple of years until they find somebody else, or that's simply what your ceiling is going to be. There are people probably in the draft process through the combine and meetings and 30 visits and things like that that are saying all of the right things because you want the job, the status of I'm in the NFL.
Yep.
But then when you get there and you get paid, does your lack of love for the game then starts to shine through more than your overwhelming talent that can just, you know, be better than other players because you didn't have to put a whole lot of work into different things? I think it's hard to find those guys, or hard to identify guys that just don't love the game. And that also could be a lot of interviews with the college coaches, high school coaches, hopefully you've got a good relationship with them that they'll tell you the truth. Look, in some of these games, he's good, but man, you got to do a lot of work to wind him up, to get him going. You know, it's a little more difficult. I'm just saying, like, he's a good player. If you can tap into that, Brett, if your guys can tap into that with that environment, you got yourself a player.
That's why give me Zion Young. That dude seemingly loves ball. Zion Young is a dog.
Yeah,
that's your Frank Clark.
Yeah, does seem to love ball. I think Ruben Bain loves ball. I think that would be your Frank Clark. There's probably a lot of people that are first-round talents or second-round talents that love ball. A lot of people that are mid-round or undrafted free agents that just want the chance because maybe the only reason they're in that position is because of all the work they've put in to try to match or get close to somebody who's naturally gifted. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, heading up until 2 o'clock. Sports or Leisure coming up an hour from now. Thank you to Matt Lane. We will talk to Orlando Alzagari that covers the Miami Hurricanes coming up later on this hour. Get his thoughts on the latest with Ruben Bain. Also, Maui Noah, the offensive tackle, Mesidor. Number of Hurricanes that may end up in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform, but mainly the latest with Ruben Bain and things like that. That's coming up later on in the hour. Again, 1 o'clock, Sports or Leisure. So we heard from Brett Veach, a lot of stuff from Brett Veach, and still a ton to take away from that particular press conference. But one of the things that I was thinking about last night and this morning in how the draft lines up and the 15 to 1,000 different ways that it's been discussed and debated and broke down. Wide receiver is there. Cornerback's been mocked. Tackle's been mocked. Even as recently as this week, running back has been mocked to the Chiefs. And certainly defensive end and Ruben Bain. And the way that I view the draft and how it sets up, it's like, would I like Jordan Tyson? Sure. Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, fine, you know? But I think going into next week, and a week from tonight, I feel like it's Ruben Bain or trade back. Like, those are the two options to me. Like, I don't know that there's another name. If somebody really wants to move up, now you have to have a trade partner for somebody wanting to move up. But if I have the option, like if Ruben Bain is there, I take Ruben Bain. I may even look into a smaller trade up if it means that, you know, I get Ruben Bain. But if he's there at 9, I take him. If not, I don't know that there is a player on the board that I would want that would be worth more than trading back a few spots and picking up a third rounder.
I completely agree. I just think the issue you run into is I think other teams feel the same way.
Unless there's a team wanting to move up and they are more in love with the non-premium positions. If somebody's obsessed with Caleb Downs and they're more on the hot seat and they think he's the difference between making a Super Bowl or not, and hey, we got to move up and get this guy because he shouldn't be there at 9.
I don't argue with you because I think you and I are lockstep. I do think it's Bain at 9, maybe a slight trade if you have to, or trade back if he's gone. Bain, Bailey, or Reese probably is probably my. I don't think the wide receivers at 9. There's not a single of the wide receivers that I think, yes, I'm not going to be mad if they took a wide receiver at 9. I'm not going to be like, oh no, how dare you? What would probably lead me to believe is they couldn't trade back.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like, because I don't think there's a tackle worth it at 9. I don't think there's a corner worth it at 9. It does feel like it's Bain or Downs might be there. Downs is probably the best player at 9 you could possibly take. And do you want to spend that premium, finally get a top 10 pick on a safety? Again, I think Downs is going to be a great player. I do. I think of him almost like early Tyrann Mathieu and KC. I think Eric Berry's unfair comp because Eric Berry's one of those athletically gifted players and intelligence. I think Berry's in a realm of his own. But the early season Tyrann Mathieu and Casey, not his final year, but his first 2 where he was a game changer, very intelligent, knows where to be. I think Caleb Downs could be more of that realm of player. But do you take that at 9 when you have so many holes at edge, just so many holes in general on this team?
I really hope that if Bain isn't there, that somebody wants to move up and trade with the Chiefs at number 9. Because even if it's a small move back, let's say it's Dallas, right? Because Dallas seems to be wanting to move up, and if there's somebody there at number 9 that Dallas is itching to get, and there have been people talking about Dallas moving up to Cleveland at number 6. If Dallas moves up to number 9, sliding back from 9 to 12, what you would gain in value, so follow me here, what you would gain in value from moving back from 9 to 12 would allow you, if you wanted to, move from 29 all the way up to 22. So if you're sitting there at 9 and Bain isn't there, and you go, boy, we can pick up a third rounder here. Dallas's third round pick number 92. And now we've moved back to 12. Maybe there's a group of players that we would have been fine with at number 9. And Dallas is moving up to maybe take one of the guys that you weren't going to take. So now all you got to worry about is 2 other players that may go to Miami and Cincinnati, or Cincinnati and Miami respectively. And then you're on the board and you pick up a third rounder. Either then, okay, now you've got an extra third rounder that you can, have the volume. Or, as he said, if there's a run on certain guys, or I'll create a scenario. What if, let's say, they're there at 12 and they select
Tyson.
Tyson, that's fine. They select Tyson, something along those lines. Or if they go defense. If there's another defensive player that they liked and it's not Bain, but they didn't want to take him at 9. So maybe for this scenario, we go defense at 12. So they're sitting there at 29. What if Kenyon Sadiq is on the board at 22? And they're like, dude, we didn't want to take him at 9, but we almost took him at 12.
Yeah.
And now we can get a guy we were going to take at 12 that we might have taken at 9, and a guy that wouldn't be there at 29. So now we package that pick from Dallas to move up and pick 23rd. So now you're picking 12 and 23 instead of 9 and 29.
I like that. Again,
I love it, but somebody has to want to move up to 9.
And that's what the scenario is. You and I are lockstep. It's the same thing we talk about every year when the Chiefs are in the back end of the first round, and you go, just trade back. Someone's going to want that 5th-year option, right?
Yes.
And we find out, no. Some reason, no. We find out for that it's just not. It never feels quite like teams value it the way that fans do.
Yeah.
Or media do. I mean, how often do we talk about Will Levis? Oh, someone wants that 5th option. Just trade back. Will Levis is on the board. This is great news for KC.
Yeah, right.
Someone's going to trade up for the 5th. No.
Why would you take that guy when you can just trade back? Well, because you don't get to press the trade back button. Unfortunately, I wish you did. I would love for them to press the trade back button. Because, again, if Bain isn't there, that value of picking up, even sliding from 9 to 12. Like if you were to move back even further, like if you slide back from 9 to 16, now you're talking about picking up enough points that you could go from 29 to 18. So then you'd be picking 16 and 18 if you wanted to go that route. Or you could slide back to 16, use the picks from 29 to move up to, pick like 22, and then you'd still have extra picks. You'd still have like an extra third rounder, because that's the value of sliding back 7 spots. It'd take like 2 third rounders to move back that level. In fact, it would take a late second rounder to move from 9 to 16. The value would be a late second round pick or an early third round pick. Now you'd have 2 second rounders and third, and then moving from 29 to 22 would be an early 4th or your third round pick, and you still have those 2 seconds. Like, Bain is really the only guy, unless we don't think Bailey's going to be there. But if Bailey and Reese are gone, Bain is the only guy on the board at 9 that I would say, no, I got to stay here and take this guy. Or I've even got to examine moving up from 9 to 7 and spend those picks.
I would also be, I'd find myself very content if that's the way. I mean, you don't want to spend draft picks, and you never know how it would play out. And maybe he would have fallen in on the entire time. But if you can trade up to 7, not give up crazy amount of draft capital, and get your guy.
Well, if Cleveland really wants out of that pick at number 6, it would cost the Chiefs a 4th rounder and their 5th round comp to go from 9 to 6. If that's where they say 7, Washington's taking Bain. We got to go and get this guy right now. We've got extra picks to maneuver. It's why we traded McDuffie. We've got other areas we have to address. We move up here. We use a 4th rounder. We use our 5th round comp pick. And we still have 29, 40, and 74 to address other areas. And you know what? Come pick 29, we might move back. Come pick 40, we might move back.
Yeah.
Like, there are other ways to be fluid up or down the board, but it makes it easier for us to be fluid up and down the board if we know we got our guy to start.
Yeah.
And we got that defensive end / defensive tackle, whatever it is. We've got a defensive line playmaker to start off the draft. And that's a great foundation for whatever happens after that. Because if you leave pick 9 / 10, 11, 12, whatever, and you don't have a defensive end, then you're getting into, well, we bring this guy in and we hope we can tap into other things and he can grow into a good player. But it's not an obvious, here's your starter opposite George Karlaftis, and you have some other role players on the roster right now. It feels like you would just be adding a role player with higher level potential to other role players that may not have the higher ceiling that pick number 29 or 40 may have.
And let's be real, keeping it a buck, they've not done a good job developing edge rushers.
Yeah.
That's why I like Karlaftis. You know why? Because you knew what he was coming out. He's improved a little bit, obviously, but great work ethic, we know that. But when he came out, he was more polished than a lot of other edge rushers were. Developmental guys have not done well in KC.
At defensive line.
At defensive line. They've not. Turk Wharton, and that's D-tackle, was he the one guy that you would say drastically got better?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Undrafted free agent to being a guy that ends up making as much money as he did signing with the Panthers, and a guy who made the impact he did with the Chiefs.
Except even as athletic as Colin Saunders won, he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Nottie had a role, but I don't think Derek Nottie was this guy that just blossomed into a great player. I mean, the Tano Passignos, the Breland Speaks, obviously those speak for themselves. They've not – Mike Dano was a fine player, but he was also – you kind of knew what he was coming out of college. They've not done it, and so that's why if they don't get a guy, a dude at edge early on, I don't have faith. That's the one spot I really don't have faith in them developing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And if you take cornerback at 9 or cornerback at 29, I understand the thought process around it. They got Trent McDuffie, and they moved up and got him. But one of the things he talked about when asked about is there a theme or a blind spot on picks that didn't work out, and he said, recently our vision and fit have been locked in. And he said, we just lost 2 cornerbacks. Guys we've brought in, we've had success there. That's not a fluke, because you have to be in sync with the vision and the role, the coaches and the fit. But he said if you miss, it's more character and love for football, like we talked about in the previous hour.
Maybe there was Haddon.
But he specifically talked about cornerbacks we've had in here. It's vision, fit. We are in lockstep on that. With cornerbacks, I wonder if you're in lockstep on other areas of coaching, scouting, developing in certain body types that haven't worked out. But he's saying cornerbacks have worked out because we are really there's this cohesion. We are connected on that. And that's why we've seen cornerbacks not taken in the first round still result in being good players. And Noel Williams, a third rounder, that is going to be starting for them next year, and I think afforded them the opportunity to not pay Watson and move on from McDuffie because Noel Williams wasn't Kamal Haddon.
Well,
and Haddon was a 6th rounder, but still.
And this is where I think it becomes silly to take a first-round corner. Like, again, if a guy falls, let's just say Mansour Delane falls and he's sitting, it's a McDuffie situation over again, he's at 22.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then, okay, yeah, that does make sense. But you have a competitive advantage that other teams in the NFL don't have. Most teams, not the Jets, not like the Raiders, not the bad teams, they have a competitive disadvantage because they don't have a specific position they're great at developing or identifying. The Chiefs do. The Chiefs can develop and identify cornerbacks. Maybe it's the Rams with like wide receivers, right? Maybe that could be their competitive advantage. For the Chiefs, it's cornerback. So taking a first-round cornerback, you're almost wasting your competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Because what you should do is take a spot, in my opinion, that you have less success developing.
Yeah.
And try and get a guy who already is a really good player at that spot. Because you haven't done it at edge. Wide receiver, to an extent, you've struggled as well.
I was just about to say that. Would you throw wide receiver in that category?
I would, but who's the wide? When he says this isn't, there's not the top end guy, not as top heavy, is what he said with the wide receivers. So if that's the case with wide receiver, do you draft one at number 9 that still needs some polishing?
Yeah, and that's more or less my point.
It's not Jamar Chase. It's not Malik Neighbors. It's not even, Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't resulted in the career that people thought.
But still.
I tried to tell people Neighbors over Harrison. But still was a guy that was this great prospect. Jeremiah Smith next year. Right? You've got guys that are like can't miss, stud players. That's not this group. Mekhi Lemon has some issues. Carnell Tate has some issues. Jordan Tyson has some issues.
I think Tyson's issue are more. I think he's the best wide receiver, and he would have the best career. But it's all about health, and I think the Chiefs aren't in a spot to do that at wide receiver specifically.
I agree.
I do think Casey Concepcion. I think that Omar Cooper at 29.
Omar Cooper.
I think I'm intrigued by those guys there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a big gap between those guys and the other 3.
He did mention Omar Cooper. When he was talking about wide receivers, he said Tate and Tyson and then Mekhi Lemon, and then he said Cooper and there's a couple of others.
Because I think Casey Concepcion is also a solid player, but I'd probably go Omar one spot over Casey. But again, to
I
me,
think Omar Cooper's probably the 4th best.
Yeah.
I would say probably number 4 of those players.
Just to me, when you have the competitive advantage that the Chiefs do with corner and secondary in general, taking a first rounder devalues that because you're not wasting it, but you're not taking advantage of it, especially when you struggle mightily at 2 premium spots at wide receiver and edge.
100%. And, interior defensive line, we'll see what happens with that. He talked about that, they still need 2 more. They signed Tonga, but he said we still need 2 more. It's a definite need.
They have 3
next
guys
week.
Really right now, Omar, Norman Lott, Chris Jones, and Tonga. Is that the
pretty much
3 dudes?
Yep. And he said, still feel like we need 2 more.
Which, by the way, that means, in my opinion, for sure, no more 6th rounder going back to get Derek Nottie. No more bringing in Mike Pennell. This, to me, screams this is a pretty big refresh on those guys.
And they signed Tonga to a multi-year deal. It's not just Nottie for 1 or Pennell for 1 or Nottie bringing him back or Pennell or whoever. It's Tonga, multi-year deal. Chris Jones with 1 or 2 years left in his time in Kansas City. Most people think it's probably 1. Contract may dictate that too. And Omar Norman Lott has 3 years left, and we'll see what he ends up being after the ACL tear. There's 3 guys.
Yeah.
And he said you still need 2 more. It's a definite need going into next week. Well, that interior defensive line seems to be more 29, 40 in that area if you're getting one of the best defensive tackles in the draft. There's not this guy's going in the top. There's not a Jalen Carter that's there. This guy's going top 10, top 15, or I think maybe even top 20. Maybe 1 defensive tackle goes in the top 20. But there might be a chance where the Chiefs are on the board at 29 and still have their pick of any defensive tackle.
Yeah,
I think there's a chance of that.
Banks.
Yes, McDonald. There's
Wendy's, Burger King.
100%. Yeah, all of those could be there, each and every one of them. But, they have the defensive line has to be addressed so much to where that's where I get into it's Bain or trade back.
Yeah.
And having the extra value that you can get, speaking of McDonald's, having the extra value that you can get from sliding back and picking up 3rd round value, or maybe even more, that would allow you then to move up from 29 or move up from 40 on day 2.
You and I are fairly lockstep, which is fun and also disheartening because that means we're both wrong.
Speaking of being wrong, we talk about Bryson Tiller, who's heading to Mizzou, announcing his commitment this morning, transferring from the Kansas Jayhawks to the Missouri Tigers. We'll hear why Bryson Tiller chose the Missouri Tigers, and we'll hear from somebody's take on Bryson Tiller when he entered the portal, what they thought of Bryson Tiller when he entered the portal. We'll hear from that coming up next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Talking a lot of NFL football today with Brett Veach having his press conference. Royals in action this afternoon. Smart of Matt Quatrero in that the Royals 2 runs or fewer in 7 of the last 8 games to keep the lineup the exact same. Just keep doing it over and over again. I think Quatrero's strategy is to crap in one hand and hope in the other. But unfortunately, he keeps finding out which one is filling up first.
Hope.
It's the offense. It's crap is what it is. Bryson Tiller has decided to make his announcement. He entered the transfer portal on the 6th. It opened up on the 7th, and on the 16th, he announces where he's going to go play college basketball, and he is heading to play for the Missouri Tigers and Dennis Gates. Let's listen to this, about 2.5 minutes. This is Bryson Tiller on Field of 68. It's where he made the announcement this morning, but also talking about why he chose Mizzou and Dennis Gates and what kind of player Dennis Gates is wanting him to be in that role. So here is that. It's about 2.5 minutes or so of Bryson Tiller on Field of 68 this morning live announcing he's heading to Mizzou.
It's definitely different than high school. You have years to build relationships, and in this sense, you only have a couple of weeks or months at max. But I feel like we had some really good options, and I feel like I chose the right school.
Well, do you want to break it down? You want to tell everyone where you're going to be going next year for college?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I want to thank all the people that supported me, my family. The biggest support cast I could ever ask for, and to be honest, that's really it. I mean, we've done a lot of work to be put in to get to this point, but next year I'll be attending the University of Missouri.
There you go. You're going to be a Tiger. Right. Going to go play for Dennis Gates. Let me ask you this. Dennis Gates is a guy who we've seen have quite a bit of success at the mid-major level and also in the SEC with Missouri. What is it about maybe his coaching style? What is it about his personality that kind of allows him to have that success that brought you into this program?
Stand-up guy for sure. That definitely stands out first and foremost. And just the plan that he had for me, he was real honest with me and my dad and my family. He's been recruiting me since I was a freshman in high school, so we've definitely had a good relationship. And I trust in him and the University of Missouri to do what needs to be done to win and to get to the next level for me.
I mean, the other schools you were looking at, no joke. I mean, Michigan, Arizona, two Final Four teams, and Miami, who's obviously on the come up with Jay Lucas there. What was it about maybe Dennis Gates in Missouri and how he sold you on how he'll use you next year?
It was just honesty. He had a player in the past who was able to do some of the things that I'm also able to do, and just from recruiting me for a long time now, I trust in him as a person first and foremost, and I trust in the plan that he has. He wants to use me in all assets and all facets of the court, on the wings, on the perimeter, inside, outside. So I just feel like I have a lot of trust in that plan, and it'll be great.
We saw the way that he used Mark Mitchell and how good Mark was for Missouri the last couple of years. Is that kind of what you see yourself being in this Missouri system?
Similar. I feel like I can do a lot of things Mark does and more. But I just want to be able to express myself freely on the court, play with a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and I feel like Missouri is the place to do so.
Feels like he can do what Mark Mitchell did and more.
Yeah.
That's a high praise for himself if he can be Mark Mitchell. And now he's not going to say that he's going to be as productive as Mark Mitchell. I can do what Mark Mitchell does and more. I can do that.
Yeah.
Will I do that is a different question. Now, Mark Mitchell was in year 4 doing those things, or year 3 and 4.
Sure.
This will be year 3 for Bryson in college, year 2 for him on the floor after the extended injury absence that he had.
What do you make of some of those comments of be free, the passion? To me, yes, before you even said Mark Mitchell, I thought he's going to say and allude to Mark Mitchell. I'm glad that Dennis had that success of Mark coming from Duke and then doing what he did at Mizzou, because I think there is a nice little comp there. But I don't know if taking a shot at Kansas, but was he maybe alluding to not being used correctly?
What we talked about in the portal, I think, people discuss money a lot. but I've also talked about play style, fit, and things like that. We've discussed, and I still think it matters with Bryson Tiller, but we discussed throughout the season that, man, if Bryson will invest more time down low, like he's so good and skilled, but he keeps floating outside, beyond the arc. It was against TCU, I think is what it was, when Bryson Tiller was dominant. And after the game, Jamie Dixon was like, yeah, we couldn't cover 15. We had no answer for him. And Bill Self was like, I'm glad he said that, because it needs to be something that he should hear, that he can be that dominant if he's down low. And if he's hearing from Dennis Gates going, oh, we'll use you down low. Oh, but we're going to have you outside the arc too. J2 is going to be driving and kicking. We're going to be using you different way. We'll use you in screen and roll. You see what Trent Pierce is doing. That could be a role that you have. We could play you at the center, like a stretch center position. If
that's my preference now, I think.
If Carey's on the floor along with J2 and Trent Pierce and Jameer Jones, you could have Crow, Jones, Pierce, Carey, and Tiller on the floor at the same time.
Because Carey would be, I guess, 4 or 5. I mean,
Carey would be a 4, but he would be a guy that'd be down there to rebound and do those things.
I'd be fine even if Carey wasn't a starter and you had Tiller start at the 5 and maybe Bryant at the 4. I like to have as much pace and space as possible. And if you're getting out rebounded like crazy, then of course you're going to put Carey back on the floor if you need some big bodies. But
I think if they've got those guys out there and you don't have like a tougher dude to push some people around, I think Carey probably needs to be on the floor. If you've got Tiller and Pierce and Jones and Crow on the floor.
If you're playing against someone who's like Arkansas style, though, I'm fine with Tiller at the 5 and try and keep up speed wise.
And you'd have another year or off season of development for Trent Burns, who could come off the bench or play 5 if Tiller is a 4. If you're not going to have it, because look, they're not going to play 40 minutes a game with those guys. Chronister is going to come off the bench and probably play that Jacob Cruz role.
Yeah,
and Trent Burns, I'm assuming, coming off the bench as a guy that you add some size at 7'5". Bryson Tiller's got the 7'3" wingspan by being 6'10", but. We'll see with that. But I did want to play this because, Mike, if you could find clip number 2, this was somebody's take on. So this was Monday, April 6th. The portal opened the next day, and we found out that Bryson Tiller was putting his name in the transfer portal from KU. And on the show that day, we had a discussion about it. And here's one of the people that was involved in the discussion. Here's their take on Bryson Tiller in the portal.
Bryson? More like bye, son, because you're gone, dude. I mean, you were going to be a starter on Kansas and be a guy, and that's not good enough? At some point, where college basketball is at, I mean, I'm a Mizzou alum. I can admit that Kansas is about the pinnacle of college basketball.
How big of you to admit that Kansas is a blue blood?
Sorry, stones of me, I know. But the point remains,
I can admit
if you are a starter and you are going to be a main cog on that team and that's not good enough, where are we at as a society? I mean, where are we at, seriously, as college basketball? But, like, it makes no sense to me. This is asinine. This is absurd. Kansas... The University of Kansas basketball can't keep Flory or Bryson. I know it's not Zuby, where Zuby was a backup. They brought someone else in to play over him. These guys were going to be starters, and quite frankly, I think Bryson, they wanted him to be a starter last year. But Bryson was too passive. We talked about it. Dude wasn't aggressive enough. He's more aggressive in the off-season than in season. That's what it comes down to. The last 5 games, 22 points. He's starting. He's playing a lot of minutes. It's not like he's a bench guy. He averaged less than 4.5 points a game, 4 of the games, 0%, 20%, 28.6%, 0%. You know that screams big time money. That screams, hey, let me test the market, dude. You are a career 26.9% 3-point shooter, and you apparently want the ball more to shoot more threes. AI's gotten really good.
Wrong.
I'm not sure who was weighing in on that. That was just one person's opinion when Bryson Tiller put his name in the portal.
AI's gotten really good. The fake news, they're all coming after me because this is bogus. Bryson Tiller is going to be a star at Missouri. He's going to be a legend.
He should shoot more.
They're going to have a statue up out of him when it's all said and done. Bryson Tiller. I've been listening to the album by the rapper R&B singer Bryson Tiller. The Trap Soul album is outstanding. Exchange, Don't. I mean, come on now. I've been in on this. Bryson Tiller, that guy who said those disparaging things. I wasn't that wrong. Still, it's the landscape of college basketball I do have an issue with.
What are you talking about?
I wasn't completely wrong.
Who were
but,
you saying? You? No, that was
But doesn't
somebody else.
matter because Bryson Tiller has taken the Missouri Tigers to the promised land.
Michael?
The promised land of the round of 32.
You damn right.
Sweet 16, baby.
Take that, huh?
You know, it's funny. My first takeaway, putting the personal feelings aside, I view this as this is an all-in move for Dennis Gates. If you can't get to the second weekend, if you can't get it done with this roster,
yep,
I don't think he is going to be the head coach of Missouri next year.
It would be tough. He might get another year, depending on what happens. Obviously, knock on wood, injuries or other things like that can, rear their ugly head. That oftentimes can happen in college basketball. You lose players, but that's why you need to have the depth. It's probably the best Missouri roster on paper. 100% of Dennis Gates' time, but maybe ever.
Yeah.
When you're looking at guys in the ranks out of high school, and I don't know if Boateng's going to play or not, but if we include Honor Boateng, the top 9 players for Mizzou on the roster right now of what would be expected playing time, ranking out of high school, 5, 26, 27, 42, 43, 73, 102, 115, and Jalen Carey was unranked, but is one of the best returning rebounders in America as a senior and a grown-ass man. That's your ranking out of high school with these players that are on your floor. One of those, ranked 102, would have been one of the most coveted transfers out there, being a 6'10", 40% three-point shooter, but they signed him early. Trent Burns was 115 because of the potential as a center. Potential still there. It'll be year 3 for him after injuries, but, you saw a little bit of a flash from time to time. Jameer Jones is one of the more electric wings as a freshman last year in college basketball. As I said, he led freshmen in dunks with 54 as a wing. Averages 5 points per game in transition alone. He's fast, he's quick, not as aggressive in grabbing rebounds, but you've got Jalen Carey and some other guys maybe that can fill that role. But you've got scores, and you've got Tony Bryant that can be a stretch 4 and hit some threes, and also finish second in the dunk competition. And, of course, the straw that will probably stir the entire drink is Jason Crow.
Yeah.
J2, as they call him. So it is an incredibly talented roster, and it feels like right now on paper it fits together, the roster. But now Dennis Gates has to get them playing together, playing as a team, playing throughout the season, and not hit their plateau in mid-February and then slide back and not play well in March.
They're not going to, because Missouri is going to be Final Four team. Lock it in.
Yeah, of course.
Sterling stamp.
Well, way to go.
Preseason rankings have never gone poorly before.
No.
Never happened.
They've never gone from number 3 to the NIT. Not that I've ever remembered. Never.
I am. I know I'm being slightly facetious, but I'm very excited because I do think Dennis Gates grew as a coach, which we talked about. I think he grew again. March was brutal. There's no denying the fall off.
Yeah.
But I still think
last 2 years.
I still think he improved as a coach year over year. We saw out of bounds plays. We just in general, I think we saw Dennis improve. I think we also found out this team wasn't quite as talented this past year as we thought it was going to be. Like it was fairly like Ant was going to be a guy. He was not a guy. Mark Mitchell was pretty much your only like real dude, right? Jacob Cruz took a massive step back, right? No denying that.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think we look back and say, all right, Dennis Gates did a fine coaching job. It was the recruit, not even just it didn't work. The players just didn't work together. Didn't work.
Yeah.
So at some point, you might have a good plan. It doesn't work. I think this year, though, you have so much more depth because by the end of the year, this past season, we were talking about, dude, there's only like 3 or 4 guys you can play because so many guys. You can play Pierce. You can play Mark Mitchell. T.O. Barrett became unplayable. Ant Robinson at times became unplayable. You had so many guys. You're sitting here going, well, Cruz was unplayable, but some of those guys have to play.
Yeah.
Someone has to play. And so this upcoming season, you've got like 8 or 9 guys where you're like, yeah, I could see him really getting big-time minutes, and I have no issue with it.
It's all about, too, like, Brett Veach is talking about the draft and fit and things like that. It comes down to, what Bryson Tiller is as a Kansas Jayhawk versus Keanu Dawes that's going to be cheaper. Bryson Tiller's going to Missouri because it feels like he's going to have more free range offensively, where Bill Self would have liked him to be down more on the block. But he didn't really feel like rebounding at times. Keanu Dawes.
A lot of times, by the way.
Yes, right. Most of the time. Keanu Dawes was the 24th best defensive rebounder in America last year. The number 2 defensive rebounder in Big 12 play last year. And he committed to Kansas. So what's Bill Self want? Look, Bryson, we want you to play down low and be more tough and physical. You're not going to do it? Fine. Go get money somewhere else. We're going to get somebody that fits with what I want that person to do down on the block. Be physical, be tough. He was number 5 in the conference, was Dawes, in fouls drawn per 40 minutes. So top 5 player in getting fouls on him to get to the free throw line, and also defensive rebounding. That's the guy I want to play tough and physical down low. If you're Bill Self, Mizzou needed impact big men that can help offensively that they haven't had in a while. Those two things are different philosophies, where Bryson Tiller fits in one and doesn't necessarily fit in the other. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. On the other side, we'll talk a little football with Orlando Alzagari, who covers the Miami Hurricanes. That comes up next. We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We got Sports or Leisure coming up at 1 o'clock. I heard from Brett Veach today talking about the different spots and pockets in the draft, and talked for a while, and tons of stuff that we took away from that. You'll continue to hear more of that throughout the day. Right now, let's talk with Orlando Alzagari from Miami, the Big O Show. The Big O Show on YouTube. And down there in Miami, around the Hurricanes and Dolphins and everything else there in the area. Orlando, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I am doing great, guys. Hope you're doing well out there.
We are. There has been a player that the Chiefs fans have wanted for a while, and that is Ruben Bain for the Miami Hurricanes. And when the Chiefs lost Patrick Mahomes, at that point it was just lose, lose, lose. In fact, we called it here on the show, blow for Bain. Lose as many games as you can so you get Ruben Bain. He is still the guy that I want at number 9. I'd still be fine if the Chiefs moved up a couple of spots to get him. But the story comes out on Monday, and it feels like, when it first came out, it's like, oh, wow, is this Jalen Carter? Then you read the details and you go, well, this seems massively different from that. Around the area, and Hurricanes fans and those that have covered the team, Orlando, was this news to anybody out there, and how's it being received there with Ruben Bain and the conversation around it?
Oh, sure. It was news. There's no doubt about that, of course. But you nailed it, dude. And you cover Kansas City, my brother. I mean, who drafts more shady wide receivers in the NFL than Kansas City and maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers? So you guys on that team have taken on some real characters. This is an incredible individual. This is a guy that comes from a great family. We had a young man, excuse me, by the name of Haywood Highsmith from the Miami Heat. He tragically had the same kind of accident. And it's an accident that can happen to you, can happen to me, can happen to anybody, man. It's just one of those that you never wish that it happens to you, but it does, and it's a mistake, and it ends up with a tragedy. But it wasn't like some dude that was, like the Raider receiver that's driving 100 miles an hour down a residential street. It's not a guy that's on drugs or drunk or racing or anything like that. This is, listen, I'm telling you, in Miami, where I want them to draft Ruben Bain. Yeah. I want them to get Ruben Bain or Maui Noah, because personally down here in Miami, I'm kind of tired of watching every time you get a young quarterback, you put nothing in front of him and the kid's running around for his life. If they sign Willis, well, then Maui Noah would be fantastic. But I love Bain, man, because with Bain, you're getting exactly what your fans and you are talking about. You're getting the guy on the field. You're getting the guy in the media. You're getting the guy in the locker room. You're getting the guy in the community. You're getting the complete individual. And to me, that's why you also want Ruben Bain. He is a thumper, man. He is a badass. And I've watched all kinds of guys in that short arm stuff. I don't go for any of that stuff. Man, I saw Sam Mills be a damn good player, and forget short arms. He's a short human being. So, when you got it, you got it. When you're that kind of person, nobody's going to stop you. I'm watching a guy now with the Dolphins in Devon Achane, who's not a very big guy, and yet somehow or another makes a huge impact every week. And I can't imagine, I couldn't even imagine him on a really good team. That would be pretty cool to watch for a guy like that. So, to me, I would tell you and your fans, forget that stuff with Bain. What's tragic is that family has to now relive that, and that Bain, who lives it every day because it's something that happened to him, and if it happened to us, how many times were you late to something or you forgot something and you hurt somebody's feelings because you did something and then you felt horrible for a week or two? Can you imagine taking somebody else's life accidentally? That's got to be a real tragedy, that in itself. And for him to be the kind of human being to overcome that and get through it, that's also another quality for Ruben. So this is just a tragic situation. And it's just, it's media trying to get clicks, dude. That's what it is. I've been in this business 36 years. I've seen this over and over again. That's all that was. That was a clickbait story because everybody in the NFL behind the scenes knew all about it.
Visiting with Orlando Alzagari from Miami, the Big O Show. Do you think this will impact his draft stock? Because, reading into the whole thing as you're talking about, it certainly seems like a tragic accident. Even the family is saying we wish Ruben Bain the best. Sure. And one of the things we heard earlier this week was this was probably a story that may have come out after the draft. And the family didn't want it to come out, but certainly didn't want it to come out to where now there's going to be a 2-week lead up and also draft night talking about it, discussing it over and over again, as opposed to the story comes out after the draft. It's a that city conversation who drafted Ruben Bain, as opposed now it's an entire league conversation with Ruben Bain. Do you think it affects his draft stock at all, or
not at all?
It sounds like
not
it
at all,
shouldn't.
Not at all, because they probably went down there. They went to his high school. They went to UM. They talked to everybody. They watched his tape. They watched the human being. They probably got to know his family. So I'm telling you, I would put everything out there and tell you that that's a money dude. Forget the player. That's a money dude. And he's probably going to handle this situation better than I ever would. So better than most of us, actually. He is rock solid, top to bottom. Haywood Highsmith is a super solid kid that played here for the Miami Heat. I believe he's in the Suns, I think now. And he is a solid young man, dude. He's a hard worker, and just not a star or anything, but hard worker. Man, he made the tragic accident. He had a guy that was on the street working on his car. Yeah, it was just, it was dark. They're by the airport. This airport, this executive airport, the lighting's not great. Tragedy can hit any of us, man. And I think everybody in the NFL will go, oh, yeah, this is just, a bad situation for the kid, and he'll overcome it.
I wanted to talk before we let you go about Ruben Bain on the field then, because, we can watch highlights and look at different clips and things like that. You watching, all the games and all the plays. How much was Ruben specifically the focus of the other team's offense and blocking? Mesidor had an amazing year, and I'd be perfectly fine if Mesidor ended up in Kansas City as well. But how much did the offensive blocking start and maybe stop and then take, 2 other routes to figuring out Ruben Bain?
Yes, it all started with him, and that's why Mesidor also had a good year. I'll give you a great example. I've been covering the Dolphins for 36 years. I remember when we had Jason Taylor, and all of a sudden, Kenny Mixon had a really good year, and Adewale Agunleye had a good year. Trace Armstrong got like 8 or 9 sacks or something. The Raiders gave him like a 3-year contract, and he never played like that again. And Jason was making money for everybody that was opposite of him, and they weren't really that good. Agunleye did have a little stretch that was pretty good, but the other guys, really, Lorenzo Bromell, all these other guys, he ended up, some of you are going, who the hell are these people? but some of them ended up cashing in on all this stuff because of Jason Taylor. Well, I'm going to tell you that Ruben Bain is that dude. He's that dude that you've got to worry about. He's the dude that Texas A&M was talking all that junk. Since I'm not on my YouTube show, I would have said the other word. And oh yeah, we've got the guys, we got no problem. And then he gave them problems. He gave them the 3 sacks, and they got a couple of guys that are going to play in the NFL on that line. Ruben Bain is that dude. He's that dude. He's that dude that you worry about as a coach. He's that dude that the offensive line deep down inside is nervous about facing, because they know one slip up, he's going to get you, because he's got the edge mentally and he's that guy. He's that guy that studies. He's that guy that works. He's that guy that forces everybody else to lead and to work as hard. And when you watch him, if you don't give that kind of effort, he's going to be a leader through and through. I'm telling you, man, this is the perfect player for me. That's when I look at that guy, that's the kind of football player I want on my team. We haven't had a guy like this since, I don't know, I got to go to, and it was a smaller version in Zach Thomas. So that's how far back I've got to go here in Miami. But then again, we don't know what success is,
Hey,
I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I was 6, 7, 8 years old when we were going to those Super Bowls and winning them. You know what I mean? So It's been a long time since
yeah.
we were in the territory of the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? But
Believe me, it
that
was a long
dude-
time before Mahomes arrived here in Kansas City too, and then it was.
Yeah,
It's
no,
been
I
different
feel
since.
you.
Yeah.
I feel you. I feel you. When you get that generational player, it's
Yeah.
a beautiful wave to ride. And I'm telling you, don't have a concern. If they take Ruben Bain, he's the man. He's the man.
Orlando Alzagari, the Big O Show down in Miami. You can go check out the Big O Show on YouTube. He's got a longer, extended segment on this and his thoughts breaking down. Or maybe he can say other words in talking about the Ruben Bain story. Orlando, thank you for carving a few minutes out for us today, man. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Be good out there.
Absolutely, you too. There's Orlando Alzagari. Good stuff from him. The Big O Show on YouTube. You can go and check that out and his conversations around Miami and certainly Ruben Bain and this story, how it was released and covered and things like that. It's certainly, it's obviously news because while teams may say this isn't news, we've known about it, it's news because the public didn't know about it. That's what makes it news. And certainly it's interesting hearing that around there is like, oh, no, this is news around here too for Ruben Bain. It's not just dismissed as, hey, we've already known this, go away. No, it's out there. And it may have been something that they wanted to keep until the draft was over. And maybe even the family's wishes were, okay, this is going to get out there, but it's been public record for a while. Is there a chance that you can wait till the draft is over, and therefore it's a story about the specific team that drafted him in that city? If it comes out before the draft, it becomes a story for the entire league. And every team drafting in the top 10, every team thinking about a defensive end, and the entire NFL cycle and how big the machine is leading up to the draft. It becomes every time you talk about Ruben Bain and the path to the draft, and the next Thursday will be about, well, you've got this that happened off the field and a tragic accident that killed, this young lady. And, it's unfortunate, but it also is life that when you're talking about millions of dollars in an investment in a player, it's the entire view of that player, top to bottom, on, off the field, what they do. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Sports or leisure, 913-381-810-810. That's the phone number to join us, 913-381-810. Playing a little sports or leisure. More Zone next.
You're into sports, but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy. We head up until 2 o'clock. One more hour to go here on this Thursday edition of the show. 913-381-810, playing a little sports or leisure. $25 at Johnny's Tavern we give away if you get a sports question and a leisure question right. Premier Sports Bar in Kansas City, 10 area locations, including Lawrence and Topeka. It is Johnny's Tavern. You get a sports and a leisure question. You get both of them. Well, if you miss the first one, you don't get the second side of it. But, you got to get them both right. And if you do, you win. If you don't, then you lose. The question is out there available for someone to call in and request. If they know the answer to it, then you can request that and be on your way to winning $25 to Johnny's Tavern. Winning. But if you get it wrong, you lose. We give out the right answer when it has been answered correctly, or we have simply run out of time to play. That's how we play on this Thursday. I didn't have time to come up with questions that may be related to Missouri and Kansas players or things like that, because Bryson Tiller committed to Mizzou right before the show.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
Had he been thinking about sports or leisure, he would have committed yesterday or something like that. Then I could have come up with another category. But instead, here are the categories we have on the sports side. We have general NFL draft. We have Chiefs specific draft. And then we have Chiefs mid-round stars that were drafted. So, NFL draft, Chiefs overall draft, and mid-rounders that turned out to be stars for the Kansas City Chiefs in the draft. What about on the leisure side?
We have why the Missouri Tigers are better than Kansas basketball. We have Bryson Tiller songs. No, I'm kidding.
That would actually be funny if that's what you did.
I should have done that, but I don't think anyone's going to get those. So
no, because there's only one answer to why Missouri is better than Kansas. They're not. So
it's because they have Bryson
in
Tiller
basketball.
now.
Oh, if they have Bryson, right?
Yeah.
But why is Missouri better than Kansas in basketball? They aren't. Ah, damn it. Damn it, Bethany. He guessed it.
We have potpourri. We have my favorite that no one really ever picks, which are riddles.
Oh, yeah. I do love
and
riddles.
It's a lovely day outside. Right?
A lovely D outside or a lovely day outside?
It's a lovely day.
Lovely day.
Lovely day. Right.
Lovely
so
day.
we're doing yacht rock because
okay.
whenever it's nice weather, I like yacht rock.
Is that yacht rock, that song?
No.
Okay, I didn't think it was.
But I wanted
me there
to
for a
say
second.
lovely day because it's nice outside.
Confused me
sit
there.
outside.
Yeah. You button hooked me. I didn't think you were going to button hook me there. All right, those are the categories. That's how you play. I'm ready to go. Sterling, you ready to play?
Yeah, why not?
What about you, Michael? What say you?
Just as ready as Bryson Tiller was to commit to Missouri.
Yeah, okay, so you'll be ready in 10 days. Good to know. All right, 913-381-810 is the phone number. That's how you play. That's how you at least get on to play. Let's go to the phone lines. And we go to, first of all, we will be leading off with Mark here on this Thursday edition of the show. Mark, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with, sir?
Hey, what's going on, boys? I'm sorry, I'm in downtown right now. It's a little loud. I'll do sports. I'll do just NFL draft.
All right, just general NFL draft for you. Let's go with this one then. Andy Reid has been the head coach for 2 different franchises. Who are the 2 players that he selected with his first draft pick for those 2 teams? The first ever pick when he was the head coach of the Eagles, and the first ever pick when he was the head coach of the Chiefs.
All right, looking over. That's a good one.
I will say that this was 99.
Yeah. 99. I was thinking of 1, but
Yep,
it's
no,
99.
you're good. 99, he had the number 2 overall pick in the draft.
Yep.
And his first year, he had a similar high-level pick.
Yeah.
With the Chiefs.
And then it was 99, and then sorry, it's really loud here. I apologize. It's 99 and what 2013.
Yep. That would be it.
Donovan McNabb was probably his first.
That is correct.
Nails.
And the Chiefs, I think, was the easier one. What's the Chiefs' pick, his first one? With a similar high-level pick in the first round?
Shoot, Alex Smith.
Well, he was a trade.
That was a trade. That's right.
Very similar high-level pick in terms of Donovan McNabb was the number 2 overall pick. And he had a very high pick in his first draft with the Chiefs.
Man,
in 2013.
Oh shoot! Oh, it's because we couldn't get Andrew Luck the year before. It's Eric Fisher.
Eric Fisher, nice job. Eric Fisher is correct. Fisher and McNabb. So both times he's taken over a franchise, he's had the number 2 and the number 1 pick in the draft to be able to do that, and he got McNabb and Eric Fisher. Over to Leisure with Sterling.
Yacht Rock, Riddles, or Potpourri?
We'll do Yacht Rock.
All right, Yacht Rock. Sister Golden Hair, Ventura Highway. I also sing Muskrat Love.
Oh, it's a band?
Oh,
those are 2 different songs.
That sounds familiar.
Ventura Highway is probably the most.
Is that America?
That is America.
How about that?
That is America.
Ain't that America? Hey, we will put you on hold. Mark, get your information. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Thanks, bud.
There you go. 913-381-0810 is the phone number, and he's hanging out downtown. I'm assuming getting ready for the city council meeting.
I assume getting ready for the stadium to be built.
That's right.
He's just camping out. He's actually
an hour away from the city council meeting going on.
Well, no, for 6 years he's going to be down there, just waiting. He's going to be first in line.
Yes, it's going to be like at Allen Fieldhouse
when
they camp out. He's going to be camping out there for the next 6 years. Nate Bucatey's camping out there right now for the city council meeting coming up.
He actually is
afternoon.
camping out for the meeting. I'm on the phone right now. He's camping out for the meeting.
Mark is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Fun.
How about that?
That's democracy in progress.
Can you
right
say hi to Nate for us? Yeah. Say hi to Nate Bucatey for us there. All right, 913-381-0810. We go to John next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. John, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with?
Well, since it's such a Bill Grigsby-like beautiful day, let's go with Chiefs draft.
Beautiful. All right, Chiefs draft for you. All right, let's go with, you know what? Let's go with this one. The Chiefs have picked in the top 10 11 different times. They currently would pick 12 different times this year, but they haven't made a selection in the top 10 yet. They might trade out. But they've picked in the top 10 11 different times. Of those 11, only 3 were offensive players. Can you tell me who the 3 offensive players the Chiefs drafted in the top 10 are?
Well, one we just mentioned before, Eric Fisher.
Yes, sir.
Holmes was top 10, wasn't he?
He certainly was.
Okay, and then offense. Wide receiver, running back. Oh, gosh. And this is in history?
Yep,
or
in Chiefs history.
It's a good question.
Thanks, man.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, gosh. I cannot think there's... We never picked a wide receiver that high. Oh,
nope.
Shoot. I'm going back. The other
Berman.
quarterback. Blackledge. Todd Blackledge.
There you go. Nice job. It is Todd Blackledge, number 10. Patrick Mahomes and Eric Fisher are the 3 players that they drafted in the top 10 offensive players. So history would tell you that they're probably not going offense in the top 10. Just in general. I don't know. Or maybe it says absolutely nothing because that's only 3 times in their history. What about on the leisure side?
Crazy. Thinking about that, like, is Jonathan Baldwin the wide receiver that was drafted the highest in their team's history?
8 defensive players in the top 10, 3 offensive players. 2 quarterbacks, they got one right.
Baldwin's only 36, by the way.
They got one right.
John Baldwin's only 36. He could still be playing.
Yeah, he could. I mean, but that would mean he was talented.
Well, he's talented. Yacht Rock, Riddles, or Potpourri?
For an NFL player. Sorry.
Let's do Yacht Rock.
I love the song. Dreamweaver.
Oh, wow. Miller. What? Gosh. His last name's Miller, I think. Oh, no. It's Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, not Gary Miller. That's ESPN. Gary Wright.
You are right.
Oh, how about
Gary Wright, Dreamweaver.
Nice. Well done. That is another winner.
That's a winner.
Dream winner right there. John, we'll put you on hold to get your information. Congratulations.
Thank you, boys.
Well done. Absolutely.
Anytime I hear that song, I think of
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World.
Yep.
Yeah. When what's her name? Cassandra singing.
Yeah. That song, I think of Wayne's World and Foxy.
Yeah.
And of course, it's also Queen that you think of when it comes to.
And there's a Chili Peppers song in there that was made, I believe, for the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They're listening to it in the car when he has the licorice.
Oh, yeah.
That comes down, yeah.
Oh, cool. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. Let's go back to the phone lines, and we bring in Cajun next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Cajun, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with?
I'll probably start off with leisure. I actually saw Queen perform Bohemian Rhapsody live Halloween night, 1978 in New Orleans.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Got a photograph. I'll post it later.
Yeah, you
Love
should.
it.
You should. Absolutely.
What are you thinking, Cajun?
Yacht Rock.
Yacht Rock.
Yacht Rock. Okay, let's go with Saturday in the Park.
Chicago,
baby. Sorry, it's not New Orleans. I could have done, at least an Orleans song, but
maybe. But you didn't. You did a
Dance
Chicago
with Me
song.
is an Orleans song.
yeah. So I went with Chicago. I wanted to switch it up with you. Good job.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way, Muskrat Love was Captain and Tennille, bro. Don't diss America with that horrible song.
It's not though.
Oh, is there a big is there a fight between this now?
No, he said Muskrat Love was America.
It is America.
Bro, it's Captain and Tennille.
No, it's. I'll look it up right now.
Look it up right now. Michael, you want to look it up?
I'm gonna hold.
Nah.
I'm gonna rub his smug nose in it.
Okay, let's
It's America, off of the album Hat Trick.
But erroneous.
Come on, Cajun.
Erroneous on all accounts.
Don't go toe to toe now. Come on, baby.
Erroneous on all counts.
Erroneous on
Muskrat
all
Love is
accounts.
Captain and Tennille, I will die on that hill.
I love
Well,
it.
Cajun's dead. I guess he can't go to sports side.
In the face of facts, I will stand with my own opinion.
I'm gonna lose the sports one anyway. I just like to play the game.
All right, we'll see. We got NFL draft. We have Chiefs-specific draft, and then we have mid-round draft picks for the Chiefs that turned out to be stars.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go NFL draft.
All right, NFL draft for you. Let's go with who was the last running back taken number 1 overall in the NFL draft? The last running back taken number 1 overall in the NFL draft.
It wasn't Ricky Williams, was it?
It was not Ricky Williams. I'll tell you that. It was before Ricky, actually.
How about Minnesota?
No. Nope. I'll tell you. I'll give you a hint. This guy was drafted by the Bengals.
Bengals, not Ickey Woods.
Nope. Number 1 overall
Only
pick.
Bengals running back. I give up. Have a good day, guys.
Cajun, you're the man, brother. Appreciate you, man. 913-381-0810. That question is out there for someone to call in and request if they know the answer to the last running back drafted number 1 overall. We head to the phone lines and we bring in Tim to play the game, a little sports or leisure. Tim, what side would you like to start with?
Let's do the leisure Yacht Rock.
All right, we will go to This Is It and Meet Me Halfway.
I hope
Kenny Loggins.
That is K-Log, baby.
It should have been something by Captain and Tennille.
That would have been really good. I should have done that.
Pretty good.
That would have been, dang it.
Yeah.
And by the way, Captain and Tennille did do Muskrat Love. I guess it was a remake, but just for the record.
No
okay,
kidding.
but America did it in 1973.
So when did Captain and Tennille do it? So let's figure out who was the first one, who was the second one, who was the last one. Turn down your radio, Tim. Turn the radio down, brother.
Sorry, man.
So when
1976.
So 76 was who?
Was Captain and Tennille.
When was America?
73.
So they did the same
they
song
beat 'em by
just
3 years.
3 years later?
Sorry that I know ball. It's America. That's the original. I'm going with it.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Over to the sports side, we have NFL draft, we have Chiefs draft, and we have mid-round stars for the Chiefs draft.
Let's see. So there's no Chiefs drafts ones out there still, are there?
There is not. The Chiefs, the one specific Chiefs draft that we've had so far was
Todd
answered correctly.
Blackledge. I was hoping to get a Todd Blackledge question. Are there any more of
We
those
are.
out there?
No, I don't see any more Todd Blackledge questions out there.
Wait a minute. Muskrat Love was originally recorded in 1972 by a guy named Ramsey. So what is going?
They both did remakes.
Yeah, so they're both remakes. So
What the
neither
hell?
are the original.
Why did one come out in 72, 73, and 76? How much Muskrat Love was going on?
There's a lot of Muskrat loving.
much.
Well, it was the era where I recall being a young man or a young middle schooler that musk was the hottest flavor of cologne. So musk oil or something like that.
What is going
How about that? I missed your musk. Missed your musk. What do you want, NFL draft, Chiefs draft, or mid-round stars?
And you said that general NFL draft question still out there. Number
It is.
one.
The last running back
running
taken
back?
number one overall. Yep, that is correct.
And was that in the modern era or the 20th century?
No, it was definitely in the 20th century. Could also be in the 21st century, but it was in the 20th century.
Oh, okay. Let's go with Chiefs draft. What the heck?
All
We'll
right.
lose anyway,
Okay, so the Chiefs have traded their first-round pick for a player from another team 4 different times. Not that they traded up, but they gave their first-round draft pick to a team to acquire a specific player. I'm going to ask, because this is one that we should know. I'm going to ask for all 4.
Oh, dear.
4 times
I guess
they've traded a first-round pick.
What's the first one that comes to mind? Alex Smith?
Alex Smith was not a first-rounder.
I thought he was the number 1 pick overall.
Yeah, but they didn't trade their first-round draft pick for Alex Smith.
Okay, I'm missing the question, then.
Yeah, so no, it has to be they traded their first-round draft pick for a specific player. So let's say if the Chiefs were to trade number 9 overall for, A.J. Brown or something, that would be in this category
so
here.
the person they traded for wasn't necessarily a first-rounder.
Nope. They traded their first-rounder for a specific player.
Gotcha. I'm going to have to turn my radio off again.
Yep, let's
Back
do it.
in the car, sorry.
Let's do it.
And then you want, there's 4?
It's 4 of them.
Or you want
4 of them. It's 4 of them. It's 4 of them.
4 of them.
Let's start
Okay. Geez. I have nothing coming to mind, so I'll just leave that out there for the next one up. I've used enough of your precious.
Tim, I appreciate you, brother. 913-381-0810. We need to take a timeout. We'll do that right here. We'll come back, continue playing. That question is out there. We also have the general NFL draft question out there about the last running back taken number 1 overall. We've got more sports or leisure to play right after this.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Kansas City, pass it on for.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, playing for $25 at Johnny's Tavern. A little sports or leisure on this Thursday edition. Resetting the categories, we have on the sports side, general NFL draft. We have Chiefs-specific draft overall. And then we have a category with mid-round stars, players that were drafted in the middle of the draft that turned out to be stars for the Chiefs. 913-381-0810, reset categories on the leisure side.
Riddles that no one's picked, potpourri, or yacht rock, because it's a beautiful day.
All right, there we go. 913-381-0810 to the phone lines we go. We bring in Greg next up to play a little sports or leisure. Greg, welcome into the show. What side do you want to start with?
Hey, thanks for having me. Is that running back number 1 pick still available, that question?
It is, yes. Who was the last running back taken number 1 overall in the draft?
You said it was the Bengals, right?
Yep.
It was a little hint.
Yep.
That's Kajana Carter.
Kajana Carter, 1995, went number 1. And if you're going to take a running back number 1 overall, that's the one.
Yeah.
They nailed it.
That's the guy.
That's the guy, Kajana Carter. I wonder why there hasn't been a running back taken number 1 overall since then. But, yes, that is right. Over to the leisure side with Sterling.
Well, Sterling, I'll throw you a bone. Let's do a riddle.
Let's go. I am thrilled. This one is great, and it is dumb. Paul's height is 6 feet. He's an assistant at a butcher shop, and he wears size 9 shoes. What does he weigh?
Meat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great job.
Well done,
Jason was
Greg.
his brain was.
I didn't
was
get to it quick enough.
Yeah.
No, it was only 2 seconds. I didn't have time to really
You gotta
think.
wake up pretty early, man.
There you go. Greg, well done. Nice job. We'll put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
How about that?
I want his stomach to be like 180, about a buck 80.
I mean, if he's that tall and he's got that size, I mean, unless he's just like really over, like I feel like that's going to be somebody that's like 190 max. I'm gonna guess 184. That's what I'm going to go with. 184. What does he weigh? He weighs that meat. All right, 913-381 at the butcher shop. Let's go to Adrian next on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Adrian, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Howdy, fellas.
What's up?
Leisure, I'm a yacht rock fan, so if I get this wrong, I'm going to be embarrassed and ridiculed by all my friends. So let's go.
That's what it's all about. Either getting it right or being embarrassed and ridiculed.
Low down.
Oh, Boss Gags, let's go.
Boom, easy.
Yeah. No,
Easy.
there is no ridiculing at all. There's bowing, is what that is. Over to the sports side, sir. What category are you thinking?
Well, it was general draft. It was Chiefs draft. It was mid-round, something.
Yes, sir. Yep, those are the 3.
Chiefs draft.
Chiefs draft for you? Okay, so we have one out there. That's the question about the Chiefs trading their first-round draft picks to another team for a specific player. They've done that 4 times. Or we have a fresh question.
Oh, I got to go fresh.
All right, very good. Let's go with this one. For just the 3rd time in Chiefs history in 2022, the Chiefs traded up in the first round to take a defensive player when they took Trent McDuffie. Can you tell me either of the other 2 defensive players the Chiefs traded up in the first round to draft?
Oh, in history?
Yep, in Chiefs history, they've traded up 3 times. One of those was Trent McDuffie. Name either of the other 2 defensive players that they traded up to draft.
Ooh, do I get a hint?
Well, I'll tell you, we had the question earlier about the Chiefs drafting in the top 10, 11 different times, and only 3 of those were offensive players. And we said Fisher, Blackledge, and Patrick Mahomes were those offensive players. So the top 10 is probably where they would have traded up to get a defensive player.
Okay, I'm gonna throw.
I will tell you. I'll give you one more hint. One was a great pick. The other one was just a disaster that we still talk about being one of the biggest busts.
Okay. Percy Snow.
I love the fact that you went Percy Snow based on what could have been a throwback to about a year and a half ago. And if that was just a joke, I'll allow you to have another choice because that was a really good callback.
That was a good callback.
Thank you. I'm going to go for the real one.
Yep.
Meaning
the actual
person that worked. Yeah, the one that worked out. How about DT?
DT is a really good answer, and it is very, very close. But Adrian, it is incomplete, or not incomplete. It is incorrect. It could be incomplete. I'll tell you, for the next people, one of the people caused a lot of incomplete passes. So did Derek Thomas. But Adrian, you're not getting ridiculed when it comes to the yacht rock. Only the sports side that you get ridiculed and made fun of. Thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Yes, he can.
Yes, there you go. Let me see. Is there any connection with that guy, Yankees? Nope connection with either of these two defensive players. One,
yes, they can.
Awesome, really great trade up to get, and the other one, good God, what were they thinking? Let's go to John next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. John, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I think I am going to start with leisure. Let's try the yacht rock. I'm kind of the same way. I need to get this right.
All right. Steal away.
Oh, gosh.
Need to get it right. And
why don't you steal away?
I don't know the song.
Steal away.
Yeah, steal away.
Oh, okay, I guess.
Steal away.
Why don't you steal away?
Yeah. It's a sign they give to Toll.
Jeez. I don't think I'm going to get it. No, I don't have anything.
Dang it. John, thank you for playing, man. Appreciate it, brother. Adrian's friends will now ridicule you for not getting it right with Yacht Rock. As he said, I better get this right. I'm going to go Yacht Rock, and I better get it right. I bet it's one of those, here's what's going on with John. I bet the last 7, 8, 9, 10 Yacht Rock questions, he's like, it's that, it's that. Then he gets that one. He's like, I've never even heard of this song. I wouldn't be on a yacht listening to this song rocking out.
Yeah,
no way.
You're stealing away.
You gave him a yacht jazz question.
913-381-810 to the phone lines we go. Charles next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Charles, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with?
Do the leisure side, the Robbie Dupree answer.
Yeah, I do have a Robbie Dupree. It's steal away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one? What's the answer to that one?
Yeah, Robbie Dupree.
Oh, okay. Good job. Good job. Thanks for answering it for him, Sterling. Jeez. Over to the sports side, Charles. We have NFL draft, Chiefs draft, and mid-round stars.
Let's do the mid-round.
All right, mid-round stars for you. Okay, let's go with this one. Played running back in college before he changed positions to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. But in his 7 years with the Chiefs, you could say he ran plenty back. Anyway, 5th round pick, drafted as a running back, changed positions, actually played running back, but was actually drafted to a different position when the draft came out. But he ran plenty back in his career with the Chiefs. Became a star with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Very much star with the Chiefs.
A joy to coach.
Mm-hmm. He had 12 return touchdowns.
Yeah.
And 6 touchdowns from scrimmage.
I think he should be in the Hall.
Oh, do you? Or 9 touchdowns from scrimmage and 12 touchdowns as a return. So I don't think he should be in the Hall.
Take a shot in the dark. Say Dante Hall.
Dante Hall is correct. Well done. Nice
Shot
job. Dante Hall is the right answer. 5th rounder.
Hall of Famer. Come on, put him in as a returner.
5th rounder out of A&M. Played running back at A&M, but drafted specifically as a wide receiver. And he was fun. Some would even say he was the X Factor. Some would say that. There you go. That's absolutely right. We'll put you on hold. Charles, get your information. Congratulations. Well done.
Winner, Johnny's Tavern Dinner.
Yes, sir. The other hint would have been, some would say you could use him to play like Call of Duty or something, specifically.
That's why I said he was a joy to coach.
Oh, my bad, dude. Nice job.
It's an Inferno.
Yeah.
Dante's Inferno.
Right, yeah. Let's go to Avery next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 913-381-0810 to play for Johnny's Tavern. $25 we're giving away. A number of winners already today. Avery, what side would you like to start with?
Saw that Ryan Sims question out there?
Let's see. Oh, no, I don't have that one. I've got the question that the other guy is also an answer to it. Yes, I have that one, damn it. In 2022, the third time in Chiefs history, the Chiefs traded up in the first round of the draft to take a defensive player with Trent McDuffie. Name both of the other two defensive players the Chiefs traded up in the first round for.
Oof. You said the other guy was better because Ryan Sims, they traded up and they could have gotten Dwight Freeney or Albert Hainsworth.
Yeah, but they took Ryan Sims because he made Julius Peppers good.
He did.
Yeah, he made that North Carolina line move.
Yes, Julius Peppers was so good because everybody double teamed Ryan Sims. It had nothing to do with the other way around. I actually said only name one. But
was the other one Neil Smith?
It was Neil Smith. Nice job.
I was going to say Stan Johnson. Get it, Neil Smith?
Okay, yeah.
And you guys have gotten me with that Robert Dupree one before, and I listened to it. It's a very unmemorable song. You should stop asking.
Steal away?
Yeah.
Maybe throw that one away.
Well, fine. Sorry.
Yes. Neil Smith and Ryan Sims. I think it was Adrian maybe that guessed Derek Thomas. I said it was close. It was Neil Smith that they traded up to get. And unfortunately, Ryan Sims. Over to Leisure with Sterling.
What do you got over here?
We have riddles. We have yacht rock. We have potpourri.
I'll do potpourri.
Okay, potpourri. What was the name of the series of programs and projects that FDR enacted during the Great Depression?
That's a New Deal.
That is a New Deal.
That's the New Deal. Avery, will put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations, sir.
Super duper.
Yes, sir. The New Deal for Avery is going to be you got to get 3 questions right. You got to get sports or leisure or crime fighting. I don't know. Just making stuff up.
And it'd be and at that point. If we have to do 3, no longer can we do sports or leisure or history. It has to be and. There has to be an and.
We just want to
somewhere.
know what they want to start with. That's how we get the game started.
I guess.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. 913-381-0810. If we have time to play another segment, we will. 913-381-0810. $25 at Johnny's Tavern. We are playing for in some sports or leisure. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy. Any questions that we did not get answers to that were out there? We got Dante Hall. We got the Fisher and Blackledge and Mahomes and Neil Smith and Ryan Sims.
The Chiefs' first round.
You know what? I'm going to save that for next week. Too bad. Too bad, everybody.
Wow.
We'll save it for next week. That's one less question I got to find for next week. Oh, you know what? I don't know that we're going to be doing sports or leisure next week because we'll be breaking down the draft.
Ah, yeah.
So I'll go ahead and give it. Well, man, I don't know.
Give it away. Give it away. Give it away. Give
I'll
it away
save it for
now.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, we'll definitely be doing sports or leisure 2 weeks from now. So there you go. Anything on the leisure side?
No, everyone gets my questions correct.
Any Captain and Tennille questions? Any more questions about America?
Captain, which one was Tennille?
The one person was captain, and clearly the other one was Tennille.
I'll admit this as a kid. I think I thought one name was Captain, one was Antonil. Like it was like Antonil.
Yeah.
Like that was the name was Captain Antonil. Like that was the name of the captain.
Yeah. I used to think a player for Villanova. I didn't know why they kept saying his first and last name every time he touched the ball as a basketball player, as a guard. And they kept calling him both first and last name Archie Diacono.
I was going to say Archie Diacono. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Why do you keep saying the full name Archie Diacono? Just say Diacono. Why do you have to say Archie Diacono? Oh, okay. Now I get it.
Yeah.
I understand now. It's Ryan Archie Diacono. So that was, what I felt for a long time. Didn't understand that.
I mean, I was a kid, but yeah, it makes sense.
Yes, you were 5 years old. You were. How old were you when Archie?
Oh, I have no
Diacono.
idea. No, I meant
how old were you?
Captain Antonil.
How old were you when Diacono played?
I was probably in college, high school. I don't remember.
I thought Ryan Archie Diacono played in like 2016.
He did.
Yeah, so I'd have been in college.
Oh wow.
God, you're so young.
Senior.
Louise, man.
That's when I graduated, but
Yeah,
I'll count it.
Okay. Yep. Probably. Man.
I would have been
12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. No, in 2016, no. I'd have been 14.
Grow up.
Read a book.
Oh, man. All right, so Brett Veach talked earlier today, and there were a lot of things to take away from what Brett Veach had to say. I thought it was interesting, him talking about the things that you can sort of draw from the multiple players, or if they have missed on picks, shouldn't say multiple, but there have been multiple. But if you miss on a player, is there a common theme to that? And he said they don't love football. Is one of the first things that he said.
Is that not a little bit of a cop-out, though,
Sure.
too, of like, hey, I don't get it wrong. It's the fact that those guys don't love the game.
I mean, it could also be that, there's so much talent in the draft. Like, these guys are talented.
Yeah.
But who separates from the pack?
Sure.
Or who falls behind when everybody else passes them up? Well, that's the people that don't love the game. If you don't love the game. Bobby Witt Jr. has so much talent, but he wouldn't be the best defensive shortstop in baseball if he didn't love baseball.
He went from legit the worst defensive shortstop in baseball to the best. That's not hyperbole.
No,
that's
yes.
what happened
And
in
you
a
gotta-
year.
And you've got to do that if you absolutely love the game and can't get enough of it. Just every day, I got to go play baseball.
Well,
gotta go play.
I would say
gotta go play.
Salvi's like that. Patrick Mahomes is
Mahomes
like that.
Kelsey has gotten better and better and better, and all the nuances of the game over his time. Yeah, I think there are guys that have just continued to improve. I think Karlaftis is like that. Like we keep seeing videos. He may have a lower ceiling and the higher floor, but I think Karlaftis is probably a guy when he was drafted that they said he might have a lower ceiling, but we feel pretty good about that he will reach his ceiling because of the work ethic.
Yes.
And he's put in the work. Staying after practice, doing the stuff with Tamba Ali, trying to be as good as he possibly can be with the traits that he has that aren't ever going to be Myles Garrett or, Hutchinson and things like that, and Will Anderson. People that are making or going to make $50 million per year, which is what Will Anderson ultimately is going to make. One of the things that we both took away was the conversation about tackle, in which he said, if you don't get one of those guys in the top 10.
Offensive tackle, by the way.
Offensive
just to make
tackle,
sure
thank
people-
you. Very good. If you don't get one of those guys in the top 10, there's going to be a run from 10 to 20 to 25. But after pick 35, it'll be slim pickings for you to get a tackle. So that could lead you to say, all right, well, he's saying if you don't, you better get a tackle in the top 10 or they're going to be gone before pick number 29. Or it can be there's a group of them mixed in there. You're probably not going to take a tackle later on. So do you want to take a tackle at number 9 when maybe if it's a group, there could be somebody there at 29 that maybe doesn't differentiate that much from a pick at number 9 in terms of are you getting a higher percentage of the player but 20 picks later? Does that value even out?
I think 9 and 29 for tackle. I just vastly different feelings. 9, yeah. I'm irked. 29, I'm content. I don't know if I'd be thrilled either way necessarily at either one of those spots because again, I think there's more drastic pressing needs this upcoming season. But again, it's always how the board falls. But when he said, after 35. I think 29 to me is the spot where I'd say the Chiefs probably take a tackle. I would be shocked if they took one at 9. I would be, even after today's conversation and what he said, 'cause he did talk tackle a decent amount, offensive tackle a decent amount. I still think they'd be looking at 29, not 9 personally.
Yeah, he also said about this draft in general, which has got a number of the national headlines with Brett Veach talking and saying that he thinks fans are going to be in for a treat, he said, because
Lemon.
Yes. There's so much gray area. Nice job, Makai Lemon.
Tyson, chicken nuggets.
Oh, there you go. It's a nice little treat. There you go. There's so much gray area in these breakdowns, and the grades are so close that everything in that gray area is going to be small differentiators between one team to the next, and it's going to come down to scheme and coach and vision. And he said there are going to be mock drafts where somebody goes much higher than they had in the mock drafts, and people are going, what's going on here? Or guys are going to go much lower than what people have in some of the mock drafts. And he also said there'll probably be a lot of trades in the first round on Thursday night. So,
and hopefully they're one trading down if Bain's not there.
If Bain's not there, 100%. If Bain is not there, then trade down, trade back. Bain or picks is
Bain or bust.
Blow for Bain. Bain or bust.
Well, you've already, I guess, done the blowing.
They have
got the spot,
right?
You just got to.
That's true. He also talked pretty decent about Makai Lemon. Talking about the wide receivers, he kind of just mentioned Tyson and Tate. They got the size and intermediate stuff, and then he went on with Makai Lemon. He's so productive inside and is that savvy route runner, and their comparisons to JSN and Ibuka, and we see those same comparisons. Like, boy. Tate and Tyson, they got good size and they work in the intermediate. But let me tell you about Makai Lemon, which if you ask me, it says, guys, we love Makai Lemon. Believe us. We really like Makai Lemon. Come get Makai Lemon.
Who's the smallest wide receiver of those 3?
Sky Moore.
They'll take the smallest one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be unfortunate. Yeah. He also, it's something to keep track of, too. It's a sort of a passing comment when he was talking about the different top 30 visits that they've had. And he said in the past, without a top 10 pick, they've used those top 30 visits for guys that weren't in the combine. And he said, they've only had 3 or 4 non-combine guys. And he joked that every defensive end that's draft eligible they've talked to. But he also said, in working with Rick Burkholder, we may be doing some unorthodox things with picks later in the draft. Working and the information with Rick Burkholder. It's interesting.